Okay, it's 8:30 a.m. I'd like to call our Finance and Audit meeting to order at 8:30 a.m. We have all members present except for Terry and Eric. Is Terry and Eric on?
I'm remote. Yeah, I'm remote.
Eric and Terry?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Terry, can you, your email didn't state which of the three reasons you needed to attend remotely. Can you cite which one that is, please?
I'm traveling on business with other express owners in Iceland investigating setting up an office as a branch from Sweden.
Okay, sounds great. And is Eric, Eric, are you there?
Yep, worked.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to allow Terry and Eric to attend remotely. Larry makes a motion. Is there a second? Brian seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. We have minutes for approval from October 9th, 2025. Is there a motion to accept those? Carolyn moves. John seconds. Any questions or concerns? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, public comment?
We have none signed up.
None?
Last call. Dr. Jake? Nothing?
Okay. Member comments? Any member comments?
He's a PhD now. Oh, all right.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Mr. Chair, thank you. And just for purposes of this very important meeting, I'm hoping that we will, as a committee, come together as a group and provide majority consensus to move things forward in a positive manner, whatever that manner is, but I'm hoping that we can come to that consensus and move a recommendation forward to the total board at the COW meeting. So that's my hope, and I think that there are a lot of things that we can separate. We can divide the question, if you will, and identify a variety of questions that we should ask ourselves if we have majority consensus on. So that's the approach that I would like to be taking today. Thank you.
Any other member comments? All right, if not, we have new business. We have 4 resolutions under the new business. Go ahead, Brian.
I would move that we consider all items 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4 in a single motion.
Okay. Are you making that motion?
I'm making the motion.
Okay. And John is seconding that motion. Is there any questions about those 4 resolutions? Okay, if not, we'll go to
Yeah,
vote.
I have. Oh,
Go ahead,
I
Eric.
apologize. You guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
5.2, I know it says that the contract's over 30,000. I didn't see actually any dollar price of what the amount would be. Do we know?
Mike Rain is coming up. Hold on a second.
So the overall dollar total, obviously it fluctuates every year, but pretty much in the last 4 years it's been between 30,000 and 35,000.
Were you able to hear that, Eric?
I was. Yep. Thank you very much.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, we'll go to vote then. Brian?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, motion carries. Okay, we're on to routine consent agenda. Are there items that members would like to have removed from routine consent agenda? Carolyn?
7.4.
7.4. Larry?
7.17.
7.17. Others?
7.5 for me.
Okay. All right, then I have the items that are removed from routine consent agendas being items 7.4, 7.5, and 7.17. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve items 7.1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. John makes that motion, and Brian seconds that motion. We'll go to vote. John?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Terry? I will skip Terry. Eric?
Yes.
Wait,
Brian?
wait,
Yes.
did you say Larry or Terry? Oh, wait.
Terry, go ahead. You're up to vote.
Oh, yes, I couldn't tell if you said Larry or Terry, sorry. Okay.
So was that a yes, Terry?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. All right, we're on to item 7.4. I'll entertain a motion for item 7.4.
So moved.
Larry moves and John seconds. Carolyn, you pulled item 7.4?
I did. I just actually thought that, and Pam's here, and maybe can help me clarify this on these. I thought in long government, we decided not to kind of wait and hold and see what perhaps other counties were doing, but I might have misunderstood.
I apologize, I don't know what 7.4 is.
And that is the federal scholarship tax credit.
No, I don't believe we did. I believe we voted on
So
the
we're ahead and
resolution
moving
and
on?
we said
Okay.
we were gonna move forward. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make sure, because that was my understanding, and I didn't want to be doing that.
Okay.
Okay,
Chair Bueller was in attendance and we
Yeah.
moved it forward.
okay.
Are there any other questions? Okay, if not, then we'll go to vote on item 7.4. Carolyn?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Terry?
yes,
Eric?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
John?
No.
And myself, yes, so motion carries. We're on to item 7.5. I'll entertain a motion.
Moved.
John moves and Larry seconds. Eric, you pulled 7.5?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, right, we've had budget pressure, and there's been the proposed look back, which, you know, I don't know if it even needs to be said that I'm opposed to the look back. But, you know, if we're serious about cutting expenses, which I think is necessary, then one of the things I think we should consider is in the insurance program, we have essentially, it's my understanding from yesterday's admin committee that we have about $60 million as excess insurance policy, just in general, basically an umbrella policy. And we could just go to 11 million and it would save about 191,000. It's my understanding that we've never come close. Obviously, right, there's always a risk, right? It's a good idea to save money, and then all of a sudden, if we don't have the policy, we're on the hook for everything above 11 million. But I do think it's something we consider, especially considering the risk factors or, I guess, historical trends. And correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I don't think we've ever come above 11 million before. So I would propose we amend eliminating that roughly $191,000 expense. And it's just something I wanted to bring to the attention of the Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Scott, would you address that, please?
Yes, I can. And on the line is Rich Stokluska with Gallagher. He's our broker consultant. Gallagher is a partner that shops the county policies and can provide some additional, context to the discussion. Given the environment, the litigious environment that we're in, and sometimes the nuclear settlements, as you hear about in the news, it's been a recommendation that the county maintain this level of coverage. We did switch from 10 million to 15 million, I'm going to say probably almost a decade ago, to maintain that. The cost of excess policies have gone up considerably over, the past 5 years or so. So you're paying about $191,000 for $5 million of coverage. The way this works, and this is the county's general liability, your package policy, so your public official liability, your employment liability, law enforcement liability. So really generally those tort claims that you hear about, the way our program is structured, under this recommended proposal, there's going to be a switch to a company called Metis/Obsidian as the carrier, the primary carrier. We were with Travelers in the past. This is proposing a switch. That policy will have a $6 million first layer primary coverage. And then on top of that, there's a $5 million excess policy. So you have now, that's $11 million of coverage. On top of that, this is the policy in question that Member Hendricks is talking about, there's another $5 million to get us up to $16 million. So basically it's modular. So he's recommending take that very top level, we call it the excess follow form policy off, and then our top end would be $11 million of coverage. To the point that was made by Member Hendricks, in my tenure, we've not pierced that level of coverage. We've not needed it, but it's insurance. It's just in case. And sitting here today, we can't tell you whether or not we'll go throughout the year without a claim that would pierce that. The risk is, and this is what we call risk tolerance, the risk is if something bad happens, then the county would not have that level of coverage. But is that a risk that the county is willing to accept? The recommendation has been all along to maintain that. That cost has gone up over the years. And I'll also ask Rich if he wants to provide any trend information based on his experience. But it's recommended that you have that. But our job is to bring you the options and let you know what you can and can't do. This is ultimately a decision of the county board based on your risk tolerance. We can easily change that if you're willing to accept that risk. From there, Rich, can I ask you to maybe just talk a little bit more just from what you're seeing in the industry?
Sure. So all of my county clients have between 10 and 20,000, or sorry, 10 and 20 million dollars worth of coverage. Obviously, the smaller counties, those that are under 50,000 in population, lean more towards the 10 million. The larger counties are in the 15 to 20 million range. So the two exposures that you really have that will pierce 10 million are wrongful death claim, and that could occur anywhere from the jails to a vehicle accident. Long term, looking at 10, 15 years down the road, what we've seen in the past is wrongful conviction claims. So someone who spent time in jail and then was exonerated later, those claims tend to be substantial. So for a county of McHenry's size, our recommendation would be at least 15 million. But the smaller counties still are purchasing on the low end of $10 million worth of coverage.
Thank you, Rich. And I also want to point out that this was discussed at Administrative Services yesterday, specifically this topic, and it ultimately was recommended for approval to maintain that level of coverage.
Okay.
Thank you, member.
Eric, do you have any other questions?
I guess one of my questions, like obviously, you know, since at least Rich has been, you know, with us, or 10 years ago, we increased it from 10 million to 15 million. We're at 16 million now. I understand that's just somewhat of a quirk of how the base policy is working, but under this new company. But you know, I guess, do you know? Have we used it? I'm assuming at some point we have in our history. And then for either the wrongful death or for the, you know, wrongful conviction. And if so, for the collar counties, or I guess every county other than Cook, do you know what like the highest has been in the past, I don't know, 10 years?
McHenry County has not used the full limits. I don't know, in the tenure that we've had, we have not had a claim go over that amount, over $10 million. I'm not even sure what the largest one was. But in the area, I can't really name the county, the largest one in the area, I think was about 22 million. And that was a vehicle accident, sheriff's vehicle that struck a family of 4.
And was that was in Illinois, I assume, yeah?
Yes.
And was it outside of Cook County or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to say what the right number is. It's just, we don't know what the suits are what's gonna happen, or what could possibly cause a loss that large. But we've had a couple auto accidents well over, $5 million.
When you say we, Rich, to be clear, not McHenry County.
No, not at all, McHenry County. McHenry County's been very good. It's just what I'm seeing mostly with counties, because of the situation that you're in. You have to maintain the jail, you have exposure to pursuit, things like that, and those are where the accidents are occurring.
Okay. Eric, do you have any?
Understood. And then what was, I guess, we bumped it from 10 million to 15 million. Was that just recommended because of, I guess, these new increased, settlements or jury awards, or what was the basis of why we increased it to begin with?
I don't think we increased it since Gallagher's been the broker. It's always been 15. I'm not sure what it was before then. It's always been 15 million.
Okay, well, you said it was recommended at least. What goes into the recommendation? Just the trend? Because I know, obviously, right, every once in a while you get a big settlement. But it's my, I don't think it's very common that the settlements on, or at least against government, county, would involve a settlement above 11 million. I mean, is that fair or no?
That I don't know. But we look at it in terms of the exposure. We look at the size of the county, the operations, and, what the possibility is for a large claim. It's obviously, we make a recommendation based on what we're seeing across the state. Obviously, we don't use information from like Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, because they all have different tort immunities and tort caps. So we're just looking at what we see in Illinois. And I try to look at things that are above, the northern part of the state and what types of claims are occurring. So it's entirely your decision. We would, be hesitant to go below the $15 million or the $16 million. But obviously, if there's we have seen some counties take less in coverage, but they were further out west or further out south. And that was mostly for financial reasons. Their premiums had gone up, so.
Understood. I mean, that's part of the reason that I'm proposing it is the premium cost, but understood. I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Other members? John?
Just a couple. One, removing the umbrella won't impact any of the other premiums on this policy, correct?
Not the one that we're talking about, the top $5 million. No, you don't remove that cleanly.
Okay. Second, I just want to note that this policy is less than the previous year's policy.
That is correct.
That is correct. So there has been a reduction based on, the county and their abilities. And then I think the third point, which I'm in favor of keeping this, is that, with the jail and what we're doing there, we certainly have more people being housed there. So our risk goes up as a result of that versus if we weren't housing the additional people from Kane County. So I would think that having this would, keeping it the Lake County, makes sense because of that additional risk.
Terry, did you have something you wanted to say?
I wanted to ask did Eric make a motion to change anything?
No, he's asking questions, and then once we have all the questions, I'll entertain a motion to amend if that's what Eric would like to do.
There's a motion on the table.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I kind of always shudder every time I get an insurance bill, and I'm very familiar with insurance bills, given my driving record.
Flawless.
It's kind of one of those things that there are two things you really, really, really don't like. One of them is insurance bills, and the other is your property tax bill, right? Those are the two things that we kind of shudder at. But at the same time, those are things that are kind of underlying to to how we live and the things that need to be taken care of. The question is really risk acceptance or risk aversion. And I'm fall into because of my record, I fall into the risk acceptance level when it comes to insurance. I think that we need to be properly covered. And if you look at, even if you raise that cost to increase to the 16 million, I guess, it's 191,000 is what I'm understanding. So even if you move that up to 200,000 times 10 years, you're looking at $2 million additional costs in insurance coverage. But at the same time, you can wipe that away in just a second with the judgment. And so I think we need to be very, very careful about this. And I would encourage us to follow our most recent practice. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Eric, do you want to make a motion to amend, or what would you like to do?
Yeah, instead of doing it at the county meeting, we'll just do it now.
Okay. So what would you like to make? What was your amendment?
Eliminate the top 5%, or $5 million coverage, lowering it from 60 million to 11 million total.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out where.
Specifically, that would be the policy that's recommended from General Star Indemnity, parentheses Genesis. It's called a 5 million follow form excess policy.
But I'm trying to find in the resolution itself where it actually states that.
It's on the Exhibit A, which is attached to the resolution.
Exhibit A. So in regard to the actual resolution though, because that's what we're actually voting on and approving, how would you like me to modify the resolution itself?
The only figure that is in the resolution is the authorization for up to $1,830,000. And this is important because this is higher than what is presented on Exhibit A. The reason being is over the course of a year, there are changes that can affect what the insurance premiums are. If we get audited for workers' compensation and have a higher payroll than what was represented, that can increase property value or schedule values. If we add a building, that can increase insurance. So a judge retires and they have extended reporting. That's all included in these numbers. So the 1.83 million is really authorization that staff is asking for just to allow us to operate the program. The coverage will be bound pursuant to what's on Exhibit A, and then it gives a little bit of wiggle room, if you will, throughout the course of the year. You do not need to change that figure, and once again, that is not a goal to spend. I want to be very clear about that. It is simply just to provide that latitude that over the course of the year, if there are changes or needs that come up, we have the ability without having to come back for an emergency appropriation each time, which is a path that if you would like, we can also do that as well. So there's two things you can do is you would strike it from Exhibit A, which is an attachment to the resolution as referenced. And secondly, if you wanted to do the belt and suspenders approach, you in essence would reduce that $1.83 million by $191,000. And we can just do that math real quick.
I think it's 191,590, right?
So you can make it easy, even numbers.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't bring my. I'm getting 1,639,000. If somebody can check my math.
Yes.
So I guess I'm a little confused because on page 3 of our board packet on this resolution, it just says subject resolution approval of the County of McHenry 2026 Property and Casualty Insurance Program 19. It's not titled as Exhibit A. Is that supposed to be Exhibit A?
It's the second attachment on the agenda,
Yeah,
on the online agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, in the first operative clause, and it says program recommended as summarized on Exhibit A.
Okay, so that's the second one.
That's
Got
how it ties in.
All right. Okay,
So it'd be 1,638,000, right?
39.
I had 39.
I just rounded up 192,000.
That's
Yeah, but he had already rounded up the other ones.
Yeah, I actually rounded down, it's still 191. Rounding errors.
Okay. So is that your motion then, Eric, to modify the resolution to 1,639,000 and then modifying Exhibit A to remove that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it. I do have a question when we open up for discussion.
Okay, so Terry seconds that. So the discussion is on the modification to the resolution, Terry. So what's your question on the modification?
On Exhibit A, Scott, are we talking about the 5 million follow form excess general star indemnity
Correct.
line?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make certain. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Okay, so then we're going to vote on the amendment. All those in favor of that amendment say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Okay, motion fails. We're back to the original resolution. Is there any other further discussion on the original resolution? If not, we'll go to vote on item 7.5 then. Larry?
Yes.
Terry?
No.
Eric?
No.
Brian?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, motion carries. We're on to item 717. I'll entertain a motion for that item.
So moved.
Larry moves and John seconds. Larry, you pulled this one?
Yeah, we'll get the traffic guy up here. I'm just curious, it says we don't have the staff to do the engineering on it. So we're gonna let Harvard take the lead on it. I mean, I don't have a problem with the project. I'm just a little confused why we would have Harvard take the lead on it. Harvard doesn't have their own engineering staff to do this. They're gonna be hiring somebody outside also. If we're paying 90% of the bill, why wouldn't we take the lead on it and let them pay the 10% to us, and we would be in control of it then?
So first off, I don't think it's fair to say we don't have the engineering staff to do this project ourselves, but we have a lot of other priorities, and this project is just one more.
Right, I said it wrong.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure everybody understands that. We do have the engineering staff to accomplish this, if that was the direction, but we prefer that the city of Harvard lead the project. They do use a consultant company as their city engineer. So they have basically a staff person from a consultant company that is acting as the city's engineer. And they will accomplish this project. And again, this agreement is just for phase 1 and phase 2 engineering. It's not for construction. That'll come later. But this allows our staff to focus on other projects like the bridge backlog that we have at the county level.
I understand that, but the person, the consultant that Harvard's hiring, the county couldn't hire that person?
We could.
Because we don't have enough staff to follow through with this one right now?
There's always management. So so whether we hire a consultant and we manage that consultant, there is staff time involved in managing consultants. And that's really what this frees up, is our design engineering staff won't have to manage the consultant directly. We'll simply review the city of Harvard's engineering work that they've accomplished. And if it aligns with our goals and objectives along this corridor, we will approve that work. And the review aspect that we would accomplish is just less labor intensive than managing a consultant's day-to-day progress on the project.
Did this go through transportation already?
And it was approved on routine consent agenda. Yes. It was last week.
Hey, our chair's here if you want to ask him something.
Yeah, we approved it.
Okay, I guess I understand it. I'm not sure I agree with it. That would be the way to handle it, but I don't have any other questions on it either, so.
Okay. Do other members have questions? Okay.
Yeah. What's this project? It's a bicycle?
We don't know yet. So I think the city of Harvard envisions, so that's what we're going to find out in phase 1, what the public wants to see. So we know that there's a need for pedestrian and bicycle accommodations along the county's airport and McGuire roads in the south of Harvard. It's an east-west county highway with currently no sidewalk, no bike path, no nothing. and you got the Walmart there, you got the Conservation District property, you got a lot of apartments along this roadway, and people are walking on the ditch today. And so I think the city of Harvard envisions through their comprehensive plan a bike path. But as we get into phase one and we look at what the constraints are, it might be sidewalk, it might be something different. So the phase one study will determine what the right improvement would be for this corridor, but it'll be something to allow bicyclists and pedestrians to travel safely along the corridor.
And would this be the end of the county funding, or are we going forward for, like, I don't know what the cost of a bike path might be?
Well, yeah, so we have some estimated construction costs in here. Obviously, it depends a lot on what we're gonna build.
But if it was a bike path, roughly?
Yeah, so we have an estimated cost of $3 million for construction. Now, we're setting this project up to receive federal funding. So the idea is that whether it's a bike path or sidewalk, we'll go after some federal or state grant funding to help us offset the cost. So again, this IGA is not for construction. That'll be handled separately in probably 3 to 4 years when we're ready for construction. And we'll be bringing back another intergovernmental agreement for the cost share at that time for construction. It is likely, though, that even if we get a federal grant, that'll pay for 80% of the cost. There probably will be a cost share between the city and the county at that time for the remaining 20% of the cost. So theoretically, it could be, we could be on the hook for another $300,000 to $500,000 for construction if we get a federal grant at that time.
I don't know if I agree with.
I have a question.
Hold on a second, Terry.
I just don't know if I agree with spending.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on, Terry, please.
Oh,
I just don't know if I agree with spending, $1 to $2 million on a project that we don't know what it's even gonna be, likely to be a bike path, or at least strong possibility it'll be a bike path, when we're, again, doing the exact opposite of what we said we were gonna do when we passed the mental health sales tax and lowered the property tax, in equal measure. Now we're asking to take it back and then also spend millions of dollars on bike paths. I just, frankly, for other units of government on top of it, I don't know if I agree with that. So I think I'll be a no vote on this. All right, now I'm done, Terry.
Go ahead, Terry.
So I just, when I was trying to, the way it's reading is that this was already approved in the 2025 budget, and now it's being moved into the 2026 budget. And I'm looking at the resolution, and I was looking, when I was reading the supporting information on this, the impact on budget, it has been included in the county's budget for many years. However, the lack of staff, this is what I believe Larry was talking to, has prevented the county from moving forward. So we've had this money budgeted and it's just been moved forward but never spent. Am I reading that correctly?
So this project was envisioned to start about a decade ago. This was identified back in our 2040 transportation plan that was adopted back in 2013, 2014. Other priorities, since that time, other priorities have basically jumped in line, and this project has had to be delayed. We finally now are ready to move forward. The city of Harvard has been advocating for this project for many, many years, and so the money is included in the 2025 budget for the county's contribution towards this work. But this is a project, again, that's been on sort of our to-do list for over a decade now. And we're finally ready to get started with it.
But you're saying that it could be 3 years before construction?
Yeah, typically phase 1 and phase 2 engineering will take anywhere from 3 to 5 years for a project of this type. So I would guess 4 to 5 years away from construction, assuming everything goes quick.
So if we delayed this, we would just basically be pushing it out a year?
Well, that's correct, and we don't have money in the FY26 budget for this project either. So if this was not approved this month, it likely would have to wait until 2027's budget when we can add funding to that budget to start engineering.
But why couldn't you encumber the,
Thank you for clarifying.
why couldn't you encumber it?
In FY '26.
Yeah.
Because we were assuming this project would start in FY '25. So we did not include any money for this project in the FY '26 budget. That's being considered this month.
But why couldn't you encumber these dollars from 25 into 26?
Well, that's what we're trying to do is encumber them in FY '25 this month. I guess I'm not understanding. So if we,
It's fine.
Yeah. We had this conversation at TC about a different item, I think.
Yeah, but, you know, well, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, John.
I just want to clarify something. This is not coming from general fund. This is RTA tax sales.
This is RTA
So-
sales tax.
So it doesn't affect the tax levy or anything else.
That's correct, yes.
That was referred to earlier. So I just want to be clear on that.
I just want to be clear, money's fungible, right?
But it's not coming from the general fund or from the tax levy. It's coming from the RTA sales tax dollars that we incur
Right.
from that fund.
Yeah, of course, which could be
Oh,
used on
wait,
other stuff, like county projects, law
No, it can only
enforcement.
be used very specific projects like this one. It can't be used for general fund
What's
money.
that?
RTA is restricted.
RTA is
To
restricted
transfer,
funds.
to like roads and,
Yeah,
Right.
that's what we're talking about using it for.
right. But I can use it for county.
But I'm just saying, it has nothing to do with the general fund or mental health or the levy. It's a completely separate bucket of money. Just want to make sure that's very clear.
Brian?
Yeah, I support John's commentary. The other thing I want to say is that if those in the Transportation Committee and others who have had a lot of experience with transportation projects of this nature understand that these are long-term projects. You have to put money in initially for engineering, and then you proceed to get ultimate approval for construction and for letting bids, et cetera, et cetera. It takes a long period of time. It took the city of Woodstock 16 years to be able to move forward with improvements to Route 47, and they're going to take the next 2 years to get done. 20 years plus, we've been working on trying to get the Woodstock Rail Yard in Lamb Road corridor installed. These projects take a long period of time. So having them go from one fiscal year to the next fiscal year, et cetera, is certainly understandable with these large infrastructure projects, transportation. Thank you, Chair.
Terry, do you have anything else?
No, I'm just trying to get this in the right pocket. This is coming from our RTA sales tax money.
Correct?
And this is the bankrupt portion of our state that's now having downstate transportation funds pay for. How does this all connect? You know, how are these things all touching?
I don't understand what your question is.
Well, I'm just puzzled. I mean, we all are aware that the transportation fund has been taken from downstate Illinois to fund the bankrupt RTA system in Chicago, but we have our RTA sales tax money, and I know this is just a different area of the budget that is less familiar to me than other, the levy portion. So I don't want to ignore that I don't understand the funding of it. If we're spending this RTA sales tax money, but the Regional Transportation Authority is short on funds, how does this all connect? It's real. What does it mean?
All right, would it be okay for the committee to entertain Scott to kind of talk real quick about that? Is that okay with the committee?
I'll be very brief.
Okay.
So the
Well,
count.
and the only reason why I'm saying that is, we have 6 other board members here, and because that bill just passed, the board hasn't been entertained, I guess, with what that impact has on us. So I don't think it's not wasted time, it's just maybe not appropriate in finance versus transportation, but.
Right, so the transit bill that was just approved last week does not impact the county's RTA sales tax, what we're spending for this project and others, in any way whatsoever. I mean, the county, what the transit bill that was passed last week does do is it will increase the RTA sales tax another 0.25% in June of 2026. And that 0.25% increase will go directly to the RTA and the service boards to fund transit going forward. We continue to have the ability to spend our 0.25% RTA sales tax on transportation or public safety projects that the county has. We get about $16-17 million a year in RTA sales tax revenue, and we have historically funded transportation with those monies. So don't get confused with what happened down in Springfield. That does not impact any of the county's RTA sales tax one bit. Does that kind of help explain a little bit?
That's fabulous, yep.
That is very helpful. I really appreciate that. Thank you for explaining.
You're welcome.
Okay, did you guys have a question?
Well, I was just gonna say that in a given year, we don't spend all that RTA sales tax money. So in that bucket of money, that fund grows and that fund earns interest. So it is, for a project like this, that may take many years, that money is there, I'm gonna use the word already, per se, but that money is already sitting in that bucket right there.
Yes.
And so that fund is there for projects like this that we know are gonna take multiple years to do, and that's what it's there for, to make that happen.
And then just final comment.
Go ahead.
I just think it's a bad look. We have our own projects to fund, I think. When we're going back to, presumably we're gonna be going back to our county board meeting in a few weeks and saying, let's have, we're doing the exact opposite of what we said we were gonna do last year, and now, or maybe it was 2 years ago now, and now we're also funding, $1 to $2 million bike paths for other units of government. I don't like the look. It doesn't make sense to me.
I think we have to be very, very clear that there are different funds, different levies that the county is responsible for. One of those levies was the mental health board. That levy for mental health board is not being rejected or not being overcome. We are not increasing a levy for the mental health board. So to combine all those things together and to say that to the public is not appropriate.
Brian, I never said
But
we're increasing the property levy for the mental health board.
But you're implying that we're going against what we said,
it is
and we are
100%
not.
what we said. It's 100%.
No, that is not what we said. We said we would not increase the mental health board levy. That levy is basically, for our purposes, gone, and we are not going back to that. The general fund levy out there, or other funds which are there, have to be complementary to the costs of government and the costs of those services. Mental health is over here. That's over here. We're not going back and relooking at that levy at all. We're looking at the possibility of meeting the needs for the services in the general fund and other levies.
Brian.
That's the point.
If first off, ignoring the fact that we can literally go watch the video and see many members' comments about what we were gonna do if that sales tax passed for the mental health board, ignoring that, okay? If what you're saying is true, why did we then reduce the property levy that year by the amount of the mental health board? If that is not the case, if we said, no, we're just gonna eliminate that line item of the property tax, why did we lower it by a commensurate amount when we passed the mental health board tax? Yes, we did. Yes, we did, Peter.
We lowered it by 8.8 million.
Right, we took the base and then from there we used CPI, correct? So we raised it 2.9% from the reduction of the mental health board tax, correct?
So we did an increase. We did an increase.
We did
We did not lower the tax by 11 million.
We'll talk about this later.
We had the base for the prior year. We removed the mental health board property tax levy. It was replaced by the sales tax, and then we took new growth, CPI, and 2.9%, or whatever the maximum CPI adjustment was for that year.
We didn't take maximum, but.
Okay, whatever, we didn't take the maximum. My point is, we took CPI, new growth, and we reduced it by the sales tax amount. And that goes, again, to the, what was on the resolution, what was on the Q&A for the county website, and what numerous members said, either in newspapers or at board meetings. But I respectfully disagree with your contention that we said I guess insinuating that I'm lying about this, or that somehow I'm misconstruing the truth. That is 100% everybody's intention, and it was very clear by everybody when we passed it.
I believe that it was very clear that we were not increasing the mental health board levy. I think we talked about whether we should eliminate that totally. We believed that we needed to leave that levy opportunity there in case there was a challenge. We left that there as an opportunity if we ever needed it, but we haven't gone back to that opportunity. And the plan is not to go back to that opportunity.
We eliminated it. There was, it's a zero fund.
Okay.
And on top of that, when we asked questions to Pete, Brian, we said there was no look back opportunity. That was his answer. So whether there can be, hold on. Whether there can be a look back is one thing, but what we said is 100% what I'm saying.
Okay. We're on resolution 7.17, which has nothing to do with what y'all are talking about.
Agreed.
We can have that discussion on our next agenda, which is budget discussion, but for right now, we're on.
That's fine. I guess the way I tie it in is, I think it's a bad look when we are spending money on other units of government to build bike paths to the tune of $1 to $2 million, whether it's a separate fund or not, okay? And then at the same time, we're doing the exact opposite of what we said, which, by the way, is, I imagine, the largest single year increase in the county's property taxes since that I'm aware of, so.
Okay.
Two things.
Resolution only.
Resolution.
Go for it.
One, these roads are county roads, right?
They are, and I want to.
Built on county property?
Well, we were not sure whether or not we're going to put them in the existing right-of-way or we have to purchase right-of-way, but yeah, these are county roads, and I want to clarify one thing that was said. This is not a city project. The city's going to manage the engineering of this project, but this is a county project that we had identified as a priority for the county over many years through many plans that were adopted by the county board, the Safety Action Plan, our Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan, our 2050 plan. So this isn't something being driven by the city. This was something that the county is driving. It just works out great that the city is willing to lead the engineering for the project. So that, I want to make sure everybody understands that. This is not the city's project. This is our project they're running for us.
And they're willing to help out because it's going to benefit their citizens. But
Exactly.
It is a county project on county property.
Yes.
The right of way or whatever we have to do.
And at the end of the day, we're expecting the city of Harvard will maintain this bike path if it's a bike path. So they're going to have the skin in the game at the end of the day after it's constructed.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yes, Larry?
I just want to go back to say that I wasn't questioning the money. I wasn't questioning the need. I know that intersection very well. Walmart should have never been built there without those amenities put in from the very start. And I was just questioning why we would relinquish control of the engineering of it. That's my statement. I'm done.
Okay. All right, anything else on item 717?
Yes, I have an easy question. Thank you for allowing me to be here as a guest. But I just wonder, do you have any idea when we will find out what it will be? If it'll be a bike path?
So the city has told us that if this is approved, they're going to start engineering as quickly as possible. So I would guess we may not know exactly what this is going to be until late 26 or 2027. But that would be sort of my estimate of when we would know more certainly. And of course, we'll bring that to the Transportation Committee and update them at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to vote on item 717
We have a
then.
motion and a second for that one.
We do.
I made the motion, I believe.
Yeah, Larry did, and I think John seconded the motion.
Thank you.
Yep. You're asking me to remember what happened 20 minutes ago? That's a stretch. All right, let's see, voting. Let's see, Terry's up first. Terry?
No.
Okay, Eric,
No.
Brian,
Yes.
John, Carolyn,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Okay, motion carries. All right, we are on to 9.1, budget discussion.
Skip ARPA.
Huh?
Skip ARPA.
ARPA's not here.
Advancement to McHenry County 8.
8? Oh, do you want to do 8? I mean, there's nothing there.
She sent out the,
Yes, let's do 8, sorry. Okay, well, no, yeah, usually there's like, usually, yeah.
Usually it's an 8.1.
Yeah, usually there's like a thing that says, hey, we're giving an updated report or something, but we're all good.
I thought just the number was good enough.
No, because when I don't say,
I sent out the updated packet yesterday afternoon for all of you.
which I can't get, so that's why I didn't know. So I apologize.
Okay. Everything is moving along. We are about 74% spent in all the projects.
We meaning the external projects.
All of them, county ones.
Oh, all.
So total
All is
ARPA
all.
funds, we're about 74% spent.
Okay.
Couple of projects I wanted to touch on. Child Advocacy Center, they are using the balance of their funding to purchase the building that they're currently renting. They're hoping that that will be completed by the end of the year. There is one project that is one of the health department community projects, Love Your Heart, that is not going to be moving forward. That one is, they just don't have the audience that they thought that they would for it to move it forward. That is $20,500. I'm working with Bronner to see where that money can be reallocated. It will have to be reallocated into a project that's already been approved, and within the same expenditure category. So it'll have to go into another health type project. So once we have more clarification on that, I will bring it to the board.
Can I ask you a quick question? So I'm borrowing Larry's computer here. So the McHenry Township Fire Protection District ambulance, how do we have part of an ambulance?
They had, part of their stuff was stuff to go into another ambulance. It was equipment to go into another ambulance. So they had two portions of theirs. They had the
Okay.
actual ambulance and then equipment for another one.
Okay,
So they got the
that's
equipment for the
portion.
one.
Got it.
They're actually waiting for the ambulance.
And you're confident they'll have the ambulance within a year? I mean, I'm just listening to our transportation department complaining about how our snow trucks are, 3 years late,
So all of the, there's 3 ambulances that were approved on the projects. All of the ambulances were ordered in 2022. 2 of them are expected to be delivered in February, and then the last one in April.
Okay, so we got some buffer in there.
So we're hoping.
Well, April versus, October is better, so, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Wonder Lake, the Village of Wonder Lake, that project has started and is going. I have been in contact with them. I'm just waiting to see when reimbursements will start. Village of Union, they are finishing up the projects. That one they're planning to be completed before the end of the year. And then Kids in Need, they have only done one submittal so far. There has been some turnover in staff there, and then there was some confusion. So I've been meeting with her on a regular basis, and I finally have gotten some reimbursement. So I've been going through those. We are having an issue with IT, the way that they were uploaded, but I'm working with them to get that resolved. So that one should be completed here shortly too. That's all I have. That's about it.
Okay, that's fine. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you for bringing this out. Sorry I couldn't get to it. All right.
Just let us know if you have questions.
That's fine. Okay, we're on to item 9.1 now.
Okay.
All right, budget discussion. Hey, Pat?
Yeah.
You want to come up here somewhere, grab a chair? So first, I'd like to thank the 6 other board members that are not on this committee that showed up today. You can do it here or there, wherever you want. So I appreciate that very much because it is a discussion for the whole board, and the more people we can have as part of it, the better it is. So with that, Terry.
Can make it. I got your presentation. Yeah, I have.
Terry and Donna.
Thank you,
Good morning, Donna.
Good morning, Chairman.
I'm not used to that. How about Mike?
Thanks, Sam. Chairman Mike.
Okay.
Good morning.
So I feel like we've been doing this for a while, but it's been fun. So just.
My nose just grew.
Really what I want to focus on today is, we've talked a lot about terms and funds and just some education. And actually, I kind of joke, but it really has been exciting, the level of engagement with the board members. I think everyone is starting to love finance, so that was really my goal. The point of this presentation is to really kind of focus in and make sure that the decisions that you're making, you understand, the exact numbers and where they came from, consequences, and so on. So first, just starting pretty basic, where are we now?
Can you full size screen that? Everyone in the audience here wants to be able to see these screens. That's better. That's great.
All right, sorry.
Thank you.
So the current levy ordinance and the current appropriations ordinance is really just breaking down the property tax, the top one, and then the budget, which, again, we've talked a lot about levy versus budget. So the budget or the appropriations ordinance is just the total spend that's being requested or proposed with identified sources of revenue. So the property tax, the levy ordinance, is just one of the revenue sources of that appropriations ordinance. So if you look, again, we've talked a lot about property tax is a big discussion, and rightfully so, but there's other sources of revenue in this budget, 74% of other sources, taxes, grants, other things. And so the current appropriations ordinance is currently built with $1.7 million less of the revenue source coming from property tax or the abatement. So I think, is that clear? I had a lot of questions and I wasn't sure that was clear.
Well, you're stating what is on 30-day review right now.
Correct, yes. And so within that appropriations ordinance of the 288 million, that, we have been working on cuts. We actually are always working on cuts, not just this year, but every year. That I put on your desk at the last meeting with a lot of detail, but I just wanted to summarize it here just to revisit. We have about $4.3 million in cuts, including 18 FTEs, 14 of which are funded, and then some other non-personnel expense reductions or new identified sources of revenue. So this particular chart, I think, is really important. When we talk about where we were and where we're going. So in fiscal year 24, we levied the 73.8 million. In fiscal year 25, that levy was 65 million. So 10,975,000 was removed for when the mental health levy was removed. So we had a lot of discussion last year about just because we're removing mental health doesn't mean that all the other levies and funds are going to stay stagnant. Actually, we talked a lot about things not being sustainable. You know, we see the impacts of inflation. We see the increases in our personnel coming out of COVID as we have more positions filled and a lot of market adjustments. So just talking a lot about the challenges that we're seeing with these other funds. So last year's levy, despite removing mental health, still had some increases to address the other issues, specifically in FICA, IMRF, and the general fund as related to personnel. So this next line here is, if we use the base of 65 and add CPI and new growth, the levy amount would be the 67.7. And when we say limited look back on this next line, that just means the difference between this number using 65 as a base and using the look back minus the abatement. So really the difference is 4.4 million. And again, this is what's on public display, and the message was very clear, I think, to staff that this is where we're at now, but we need to continue to make this abatement number larger.
So just, can you go back 2 seconds? So what is on display is the difference, which is $2.7 million, which would be the technical tax increase, is 2.7 million, is what's on 30-day right now.
Well, what's on 30-day right now does not include the abatement, but the appropriations ordinance reduces the revenue asked by 1.7.
Okay, but I get, let me rephrase what I said. If what we're asking is the 1.7 abatement, and the tax increase with the look back is 4.4, then yes,
from the 65 as a base.
Correct.
Yes.
Then the difference of that is 2.7.
1.7. Yeah.
1.7? I did, no.
No.
2.7.
At the 67.7 plus
4.4 minus 1.7.
We don't have to get hung on that because we're gonna.
I know, we're changing all of it. I'm trying to just be clear about where we're at now.
I think that's important. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. I said my piece, go ahead.
Okay, so next. So what I did here was, we talked in, I think it was in August, looking at the 3-year outlook model. So I took that model and took some of the detail out. So if anyone is interested in expenses and what exactly those make up, please contact me. But I wanted to make sure that we focused in on, again, some of the questions that I'm getting asked a lot. So this first column here would be no growth to the levy. So that would be if the levy maintained the level from fiscal 25, so around just over 65 million. So this is just the general fund. So the general fund's portion of that total extension would be the 37 million. So then other revenue would give us a total revenue of 100 million, expenses 106. So that would be using $6 million of fund balance unless additional revenue or expense cuts were identified. That would reduce the months of reserve to 5.31. And again, really for the past several years, we've been talking a lot about this is not sustainable, and fiscal 26 was really going to start to be the year where we saw things change over. And then as we move out these 3 years down here, really just show that it's giving us no, if we have any unfunded mandates or challenges with the state or federal government, even funding just existing projects without significant cuts, really puts us on a path that is going to be very challenging in the next several years. So this chart, the blue up at the top, what I did was I took the annual increase to the average home, so a $325,000 house in a municipality. So each one of, just for some context, so we're talking about no increase, $6 million use of fund balance, 7, 8, and 9 as we go out. This next column is CPI plus new growth on the base of 65 million. So a $20 increase to that same house. Same thing through $40 million to the general fund, 5.6 months of reserve, which is still an okay number, but again, the real challenge becomes 27, 28, and 29. So then the current ordinances on public display take the look back minus the $1.7 million abatement, and that annual increase to the average home is just under $50. So same thing, we had a discussion last month at Finance about breaking even. We're just under 6 months. And most importantly, as you look 3 years out into the future, it continues to give the board tools to respond to any challenges or projects you want to consider, or just funding the current level of service.
Are you okay with taking questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, go ahead. I saw your hand first.
So as we look at the use of fund balance projections under each of those, is the presumption or the assumption that's built into all those that we're not going to take CPI and new growth in those subsequent years? And what's the assumption as far as costs in those subsequent years?
So actually, that's a good question. The assumption is, so the base year of 26 is based off of these assumptions up here at the top. 27, 28, and 29 use whatever base we establish in 26 and add 2.5 CPI and new growth.
Okay.
So it already considers, and of course we don't know what CPI is or new growth, but just trying to be conservative. So yeah, if you take that away, then that increases these loss.
And what's the assumption on the expense side?
So the expense side, and the biggest jump, so for 27 is obviously the $3 million of ARPA coming back on. The rest, and I can show you my assumptions, we did like 2.5% for personnel increases. Some of the big contracts, we already know the prices, so I have those actual things built in. And I think a 3% increase in sales tax.
I'm sorry, what was that last?
3%, so on the revenue side, a 3% increase in sales tax to come up with these. And I can send you the full model. I just wanted to kind of zero in on the highlights.
So in the look back scenario, is that projecting 2.5% plus new growth on the revenue figure that we have this year, or does it
So the look back,
erase the abatement in year 27?
it does, so the 27, 28, and 29 is based on a new base of 73.8.
Okay.
Which is, I think the point of using the look back is reestablishing the base, because for the past several years, we were saying that the levy has not been growing fast enough to keep up with expenses. So it's really a reset, and it is based from there. And of course, every single year, these are just projections. So we look at this every year, no matter what. Where did revenue come in? You know, because also keep in mind for the general fund, about 35% of the revenue in the general fund is from sales tax. So depending what happens with the economy, you know, that could be another challenge going forward. But, you know, we will relook at this every year. In 27, maybe you don't need to take any CPI or abate more, or, you know, it just kind of depends on where expenses
Manage the
and.
cost structure.
Jim?
Okay, so just so I understand it, and to me, there's the blue line and then the use of the fund balance on the bottom that to me is very important on here. So on the blue line, on the look back, minus the 1.7 today, the cost to the average homeowner is $49.41.
Yes.
If we don't do the look back and do the CPI and the new growth, the 2.9%, which I don't know how we not do that, is $20.06. So that's a total of, to go with a look back, it's a total of $29.35 to the average homeowner for us to do the look back. Now, the return out of that for protecting the county residents by doing that, that bottom use of fund balance becomes really important to look at, because now you're in a 27, you're in a positive 338 instead of a negative 4,000,008. That's a big number for $29.35. To me, that's a glaring number. And so I want to make sure I understand that right, that by taking the look back for $49.41, because I don't see we can't get past $20.06 regardless. So the $49.49, which is the $29, am I looking at that right, that it's $4.5 million in the end of 27?
Yes, correct.
Okay. That's the difference in our budget next year, in 27, I should say.
All right, Eric? For the utilization of fund balance, that purple line, that doesn't include any of the cuts recommended by the county other than, I think at the budget presentation meeting, you gave green options. It includes those, correct?
Yes.
But it doesn't include any other cuts,
So
like
on-
all those yellow recommended cuts? Or
So on the
potential
front
cuts?
screen, these cuts here, the 4.3, it includes those.
But it doesn't
Which were
include
the
those
green
yellow
cuts.
options?
No, and we will get to those in a second.
Okay. And then last question for this slide anyway.
I have a question when he's done. I can raise my hand.
The last question I have for this slide, months of reserve. It's our county policy to have 5 months of reserves, correct?
Well, it's to strive for 5 months, but it's also the county policy that the special revenue funds are able to meet their obligation, which, you know, right now, we have several funds, specifically FICA and IMRF, that are not able to meet their obligations. So I think, you know, because that's part of this whole discussion too with taking the look back. This is just the general fund, but we have other funds where their only source of revenue is property tax. So we have to make sure that those are healthy enough to sustain themselves as we look at the months of reserve with the general fund. And that's where Donna's gonna talk in a little bit about cash flow, using that months of reserve to prop up the other funds, you know, and when that becomes even more challenging.
For the, sorry, Les, just based on what you said, for the, if we take 2.9% CPI plus new growth or the look back and abate 1.7, the months of reserve are 5.6 and 5.96. Does that include the, I assume, the supplementation from the general fund to those special funds that you mentioned?
No.
It doesn't? Okay. So those will be drawn down, I assume?
So
In those
right.
cases to fund them?
So right now, so the months of reserve, It's not the bank balance, it's the fund balance, which includes, the way it's listed in the financials is that it'll have like the assigned, unassigned, restricted, and then unavailable. So this number is the unrestricted, but the unavailable is the loan to FICA, which I have kept out of this discussion completely because there could be some conversation going forward that goes away. So I wanted to keep it out of this discussion.
Goes away in what way? Like it would transfer to the?
The board has the authority to just forgive the loan.
And how much in roughly loans would theoretically be able to be forgiven?
I have a question.
3.8 is the current advance to FICA.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, go ahead, Terry.
Can she hear us?
Yes, what is the total amount? What is the total cash? Terry, can you hear me?
The total unrestricted fund balance of the general fund?
Yes, please.
About 55 million.
Thank you.
And just for some context, because I think sometimes we talk in these very large numbers, the total monthly cost to the general fund is about 8.5 million.
Per month.
Per month, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, sorry, John.
Yeah, sorry. And I just want to make sure I understood what Eric said in your answer. That 5.6 or 5.96 does not include money we may have to advance to different funds to keep them doing what they have to do. So
It does include it.
yes,
So
it does.
if we have to transfer $4 million to FICA, then that would go down by 0.5.
Which number are you looking at?
And what's the reserve would go down.
Yes.
No, it would stay the same, right? Because it's already
It
included.
would move from unrestricted, which is what that is, into
5.6.
unavailable.
Right, so 5.6 would come down.
Yes. That's why when we talk about, we can't just look at the general fund all by itself.
Right.
Because even though the funds are siloed, especially if you're using the months of reserve as a safety net for these other funds that have not been keeping up with their, the levy has not been keeping up with their expenses.
Right. So
So you can't just look at the general fund by itself and say, oh, we're at 6 months and we're okay.
that's what,
Yes.
and that's why I wanted to make sure it was clear, because I think that gets mixed up, and that's gonna flow into her conversation, excuse me, Ms. Kurtz's conversation, I didn't mean to say her, regarding cash flow. I apologize.
So,
Okay.
Carrie, just so I understand it better, if in the future the board, say next year, the board forgives those loans that we were talking about, the 3.8 million. I mean, let's pretend we forgave it this year. That utilization of fund balance for the 2.9% CPI plus new growth of 3.3 million would actually be positive.
It would not
500.
change anything because the liability is just on the balance sheet and this is just revenue and
Okay,
expense.
understood.
And it is not included in the months of reserve because we only use unrestricted. So really, if you forgave the loan, it wouldn't change any of this. It would help the cash flow, but it wouldn't change this. And I purposely excluded it from this so it wouldn't be confusing.
It wouldn't bump up the months of reserve anymore. No, I guess not. Yeah, okay, I get it.
Okay.
Okay, so, when this went on public display with the $1.7 million abatement, you know, we really heard from you, all the departments, that we need to make that 1.7 bigger. So over on this side of the screen, we found some increased revenue sources. So we've had a sales tax audit ongoing for a while. We just received the results. So we had some businesses that were identified that were submitting their sales tax receipts to the municipalities, and they should have been coming to the county.
It happens. Merry Christmas.
It happens all the time. It happens, yeah.
all the time.
I mean, the ones right on the edge. And so, again, and we really started the sales tax audit with this consultant it's been ongoing. So just to kind of assure all of you that this is stuff we're always looking at, not just during the budget. But then next, Kathy's gonna be talking about video gaming and just a new per machine, per year fee that is available to us. So really kind of an easy 100,000. And next is reduced expense. On the consent agenda today, there was a Microsoft Enterprise agreement. And so we had a placeholder in based on what we thought it was gonna come in at, and it came in about $100,000 less. So that can come out of non-departmental. And then Mr. Shorten, since he's here, we can recognize him. He did a lot of work really drilling into each line item of the general fund. And he had a few questions and challenged us on a few things. So we found some additional reductions to come up with the 250,000. So the shift from the tort fund based on the insurance premiums going down, and then 400,000 from the FICA fund, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, why I think we can do that this year. And then last, I think the utilization of fund balance, we talk a lot about we don't want to use fund balance for recurring expenses. And I think that's really important to keep a strong financial health. But also, we can recognize how much of that fund balance we can kind of use as a tool. And we do have a strong general fund reserve now, and the challenge is to keep it strong. But really, I think there's an opportunity for this year to use some of the general fund reserve so we can increase the abatement. So that's an additional 1.5 added to the current, which would be a new proposed abatement of 3.2. So taking the look back minus 3.2 and then adding it to the numbers that we saw in the other scenarios, that would reduce the annual increase to $39.81. And then again, the portion of the property taxes to the general fund, the other revenue where we see an increase in the sales tax, and then a slight reduction in expense. And then you can see using the fund balance, it continues to keep a strong months of reserve. And then you can see how really, it doesn't take big changes to really impact the 3-year projection and how that's gonna look to keep us strong. But as I said, to react to unfunded mandates, to keep providing services. And again, that doesn't mean we stop, because we're always looking at how things can be better and so on.
So if we're gonna abate 3.2, and if there's, under the look back plan, and we're under the look back, we'd be bringing the new base, right, to 73.8. Why not just do if we're gonna do a look back, why not do 70.6 million as the new base? Why are we doing this game of?
Because we don't have a choice. The law states that we have to take the full.
We would have to take the
Yes.
full.
So next year, when the new base is established, we can take up to it.
We can take up to new growth CPI or.
But for now, to establish the new base, I know I said, can we just take something between here and here, and they said.
The abatement would occur by a separate ordinance after this.
Yes.
Can we do them concurrently or no?
Well, you do it sequentially.
No, I'm saying, could we do it?
You can make it all in one motion if you wanted to.
Separate document.
Separate documents.
Separate document, you could make them all in one motion.
All in one motion, that's right.
You could also make the first one subject to the passage of the second one.
What?
You could make the first one subject and only approved subject to the passage of the second one. We do it all the
Or
time.
we could just do them all in one
Or you could do
motion,
it all in one motion.
so that we don't have problems. Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
But there are
Gary,
mechanisms.
could you go back and just say, with the abatement at 3.2 million, right? You said the average house cost would be 29 something?
3981, so this number.
3981.
Yeah,
On a $325,000 house, that's what
in a
you're.
municipality, yeah, so if you have bigger house, double it, or
smaller, lesser house,
Little house.
So just CPI was 20, what was it?
$20.06.
So you're less than 20 bucks
And again, I think that's really important because,
per year. It's not per month.
correct, per year.
So that's lunch.
You know, no increase. We really work hard, and I know you guys have worked extremely hard on no increase, but when you look at a minimal impact to the average homeowner versus the, for sure, cuts of service that would have to happen in 27, 28, and 29, I really think it's showing that it's well managed, and we have to react to this inflation pressure that we're under. But I think it's a very responsible increase.
So you're saying 1975 is the difference between the two. So for those that are old enough, that's kind of like an Earl Shive special. And if you're not old enough to know who Earl Shive was, then I'm sorry.
And I think it's important to constantly say it's a year. That's not a month, it's a year.
Right.
You can't even buy dinner at Culver's for 1975.
Well, it depends on what you get. I sometimes get the value basket.
Right.
Okay. So again, we've really focused a lot on the general fund, but kind of bringing it back into the total extension. So this number down here, the 73.8, that is the amount that's currently on public display. If we take that number minus the abatement, this would put us at 70.6. So if you compare that number with last year's levy, that's an increase of 5.6 million. So where is that increasing? Which I think is important to make sure that we are watching. So the 2.6 million is going to the general fund. So if you remember from this slide all the way back at the beginning, this is a very similar increase that we asked for the general fund from last year. And the one thing to say about the general fund is we have board-approved positions, we have a board-approved merit, we have union contracts, a lot of our very expensive software or contracts in the jail, we know those costs. So the general fund, even though it's large, it's relatively easy to project out. So when we're seeing it grow by 2.2, 2.6, that's really what we have been anticipating based mostly on our personnel costs. So the general fund is growing as we've been talking about it for the past several years. So the remaining increases are mostly in FICA and IMRF. And so with the kind of the I don't know if challenge is the right word, the work, you know, with the prior year levies, really making sure that we are getting the most from these funds and using their reserves appropriately. You know, we got a little bit behind, so we knew county highway over the past several years had to be increased just to catch up. And really that left FICA and IMRF not keeping pace with their expenses. And VAC a little, we may see more of that as we go in the future. So again, there was talk before about the advance to FICA. And so I have had some questions about this. Well, why do we have to increase the levy for FICA if we can just forgive the loan to ourselves? So my response to that is this 1.2 million or the 2 million for IMRF, that is really just to get these funds so they can meet their payroll expense for this coming year. It has nothing to do with the advance.
So let me just, so that's, I guess, what I was gonna ask you to address. So if the board chose not to forgive those funds back, or forgive the loans back to the general fund, then those numbers would have to be higher in order to, not next year, because we don't, the resolution was that we wouldn't start paying that back. But eventually you would have to increase that even more over and beyond just yearly needs in order to start creating a fund balance in order to be able to pay back the general fund.
Correct. Yeah, the numbers that we are requesting for these, for FICA and IMRF are are only so it can meet its payroll burden. It's nothing to do with the advance. And so this slide, sorry, I know I've gotten mixed reactions on it, but so this top purple line is the expenses. So this is just the Social Security FICA fund, Fund 202, if you guys are following along in your financial, is the expenses. The green line is the levy. And this blue bar at the bottom is the fund balance of the fund. And so just like we saw for many of our funds back in 2018, the fund balance was a little stronger than it probably should be. So we really had a planned spend down, and we're seeing the same thing with the general fund. And again, it's how do we use the fund balance as a tool and not a crutch, right? So we knew that we had a planned spend down. So this purple in the middle is the use of fund balance. So the revenue below the expense, we're using the fund balance. So we started to use it here. We started to use it here, and this is really where it should have started to level off. But because of constraints in other funds or the total extension, we continue to rely on the fund balance for this fund. And IMRF looks similar, it's a little bit better, but similar path. So really what happened between 23 and 24 is we see this large increase in expense. And just a reminder, this fund is used to pay the FICA expense for the general fund employees. So as we see general fund personnel increase, we see this one in a similar pattern, same with IMRF. And so what I did down here, starting in 24, is I removed the advance from this particular graph. So you can see that asking for a levy this year of 5.6 does nothing to address the advance, because technically these are negative. All it does is start to build this back up so it can meet its current obligation, because 26 will still need to borrow money and maybe some of 27. Really the goal is to get that blue bar up to here, which would make this at a 6-month reserve.
When you say borrow money, you're just talking about from the general?
Correct.
Okay.
Is that potential borrowing in the budget numbers?
No. What do you mean borrowing?
Well, if we give that general fund money to Social Security RMRF, it's got to come from someplace.
It just comes from the bank balance.
Okay.
It's not, we keep it on the balance sheet,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But again, as our wonderful treasurer will be talking about, you know, it does affect the cash.
To add into the 6-month reserve on this is because it is reliant on property taxes, and that's part of that payroll cycle, that receipt cycle.
Correct.
To make sure that we don't fall short by that.
Yeah, so unlike the general fund that has other sources of revenue, this fund, IMRF, VAC, their only source of revenue is property tax. So they have to, the fund balance has to sustain its expenses from September to May. That's why these need to be at 6 months.
Sorry, so if you said we're gonna have to use a little bit of money next year from the general fund for this, for the Social Security fund. As well as next year, a little bit.
Because.
And then it should, I assume that's because it's catching up, right? Like roughly
Exactly.
600,000.
Yes.
So at that point, do you, I mean, is that assuming we continue to increase it, you know, in 26, 27, 28 for this fund specifically?
Yes, and IMRF is the same.
But it would flatten out after 27, right?
Yes, that is the goal, is to.
Or even decrease, because it would be at that point building up 600,000 a year.
Depends how much expenses go up.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah, really, so the goal for this one, once it's here, then every year, we just look at the total expenses and that's our levy. No more strengthening it. Really just catching it up. Does that clear up some confusion? I had a lot of questions about the advance.
I think that makes sense to me. I guess the only other question is, does does those because we're basing right now the payroll, I assume we're basing the social security expenses based on headcount, right? And does that include the 18 eliminated jobs? Is that factored into it?
Yes.
Or okay.
So the way our budgeting software works is we actually budget by position, but then we assign employees to that particular position. So the FICA and IMRF is down to really to pennies. It's based on their salary, and when the merit goes up, then of course it goes up. Overtime, it goes up. But then when we remove a position, it automatically recalculates a reduction in
Okay.
in FICA. Right, so again, just revisiting this chart that we looked at the beginning, but the bottom two bars now, this is how it would look with the $3.2 million abatement. So really that 4.4 that you were talking about, that's where you got the 2.9. Lisa, you were at the, really becomes a difference of 2.9, which I think is addressing, you know, I know I've always said for the past several years that the path we're on is unsustainable. And we're seeing it, especially in FICA and IMRF. So really a lot of that 2.9 is really catching those funds up. And then the remaining growth is to address just the normal growth that we've been seeing in the general fund.
Mike?
Just to clear it up in my head, do these numbers include either the green or the yellow?
Green only,
Green.
plus the revenue for the sales tax and the video gaming.
Can I just ask, I mean, I've been one of those people on the phone, you gotta elevate your voice a little bit so they can hear you. Because you're having a conversation and they have no knowledge of what is being said. So just elevate.
Speak loud and proud, Mike.
Segue.
Sorry.
So again, here's the yellow options that we have been talking about. Any selection of these or anything else could increase the abatement. I did remove from the bottom of the yellow, the ones you guys haven't seen, the board health insurance, because that really doesn't affect 26. And there has been some comments on a hiring freeze or no new positions. And I want to acknowledge that that, of course, is something we can look at, but there hasn't been really clear direction on exactly what that means to everyone. One thing I will say is we looked at all the positions that are on the vacant list, well, vacant list as of a point in time. And right now there is only one position that's been open for more than, I think I did 3 months. And on the new supplemental list that I sent you, I was working with Melissa. One of the challenges of why it has been open so long, I think they've been actively recruiting it, is it was a part-time nurse position, which is difficult to fill. So one of the kind of moves that she made was to make that full-time with some offsets, with other cuts to offset, so there'll be a net increase of 0. So that will be easier to fill.
So do you want to go through this now, or do you want to go through it later?
If you guys want to go through it now, that's fine.
I don't want to ruin the mojo of the slide presentation, so I'm asking.
See what happens.
What do you want to do?
So, actually, I do want to go on to one thing really quick. So again, this is a slide I've been showing you guys all summer, it seems, because I really think, you know, we talk a lot about this year and then we talk about coming years and use words like look back and increase taxes. But I really think there needs to be acknowledgement of all the work that has been done. And really that we're very mindful. I think everyone in the county, even when we're doing our meetings with elected officials and department heads, you know, they come up with great ideas and I think they take it very personal to make sure that we are providing services most efficiently. So this yellow is what the county did take. The top number is what we could have taken under PTEL. So the blue represents the amounts that we didn't take. And again, we don't start out building the budget saying what's the most revenue we can get and how can we spend it. We make sure that we look at what's the need, where does that come with expenses, and then what are our available sources of revenue. And I think that really highlights it because the blue in total over these 10 years is $65 million. And Donna, again, is going to touch on that in a little bit. But another thing I want to point out, this is really after we did the levy right sizing. So after 3 years, it reduced under PTEL. So I want you to focus on the 73.9. So if we take that number and use that as our new quote-unquote starting point back in fiscal 21. And we only grow that number by inflation. So this number here is what the PTEL inflation number. And in these 2 years, we were capped at 5, but this was the actual inflation. So our expenses were going up by this, but we were capped at this. So if you take this, add inflation, you would get this, add inflation, and so on down the line. So when we get to 25, we would be here. If you remove mental health, that would put us here. So, again, we talk a lot about inflation pressures, and I think sometimes it's just this, we just throw it out there like, oh, there's a lot of pressure, it's increasing our expenses. But this really shows that everything else ignored, if we only grew the levy based on inflation, we would be at 74 million. So this year after the abatement, we are requesting 70.6. So really it's kind of building on the graph that I showed prior, that even though it's a slight increase, if we're increasing less than inflation, that's really a cut. And I think that's what this 3.8 million is kind of representing. And I know we've talked about this slide before, but I really wanted to make sure that we revisit it because I think it's important to kind of show your accomplishments.
I guess one of my questions is, say the mental health sales tax wasn't removed last year and the corresponding sales tax wasn't passed, what would the county have done? Because we would have been roughly right at the same 73.8 million we're talking about now, but we would have had an extra $11 million in expenses going to the mental health board. What would the situation have been?
Well, that base could have grown, so if you added, so we could
say we took in the max base, whatever that amount is.
So it would be around 77 million.
77 million, so we would have had 4 million, but we would have, so our use of the fund balance this year would have been significantly more.
About 1.6 more, yes.
Only 1.6? Because wouldn't we have had, if we grew it by 4-ish million, but we had 11, wouldn't it have been 7 million in additional expenses that we would have had to make up for? The difference between the amount it was raised versus the 11 million from the mental health board?
Yeah, and I guess that would be, well, that would go to fund the general fund. So then again, we would be in the same situation with the other funds. Because if you pulled the increase out of like an IMRF and moved it to general, so yes, 4 million. But it would all have to go to the general.
It would have been 4 million what? Like $4 million more?
The difference if we still had mental health.
Not 7? I guess that's where I'm not following. Because if we would have increased the property levy by another 4 million, but we would have had an additional 11, let's say mental health stayed flat, right, on the expense side, we would have had $11 million in expenses. Wouldn't that be 7 million?
Well, I mean, I guess that's assuming mental health would stay flat.
Versus a reduction.
Again, we've been talking for multiple years that we are on a path that's not sustainable.
Right.
And so there's a lot of different ways you could move things around between the levies.
Right, no, I guess I'm just saying, wouldn't we have been in a $7 million bigger hole if we hadn't have done that last year? Assuming the expense and revenues side for mental health stayed flat, didn't increase, decrease, anything like that.
So can I just ask what you're asking? Because are you saying that so the mental health was a 10.975, right, million? And if that had stayed
Whatever,
on?
I'm just taking those numbers.
Because if we were at, so I'm saying 4 million because we're at 70 right now. We could be at 77.
Right,
So the difference, if we added mental health back in, is 4.
oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
I saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The problem would have been as bad or worse than it is today.
It would have been worse.
You've been giving the mental health a big haircut.
Right, that's
Right.
what happened, exactly.
Okay, so we still gotta go back to the yellow slide.
Yes.
But I'm gonna let you finish doing your thing.
So I am gonna let Donna take over. And then who's gonna do?
Red Rover, let Donna take.
I can give you this.
I wanted to just, may I just make a comment while Donna's getting set up, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. I know, because those poor taxpayers don't have anybody here speaking for them. I know that we're talking about the impact on the average home valuation being $49 and something, but that's about 25% of the homes. 37.5% of the homes are valued at above the median in McHenry County, just so that we know that the bulk of the property taxes is going to be well above that. So just saying. So we've got 25% in that median range. We've got 37.5% above that range. So thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Donna.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys, for letting me come today. Donna Kurtz, County Treasurer. So I wanted to begin with the end in mind, like Stephen Covey taught all of us. And you see the $39 price tag there. So with that, you know, we need to have the conversation in context. It's context you all know, and that is we have to run our government on something, as certainly President Madison knew all too well. But we also don't want to take any more than we have to, as Calvin Coolidge knew all too well. So with that in mind, we have a challenge, and we can't ignore that there really are 3 legs to this stool. You have our constituents we care deeply about. We have the county board that we are, you know, always concerned about our reputation and our decision-making and what we do that makes us proud and have a sense of accomplishment in the greater good. And then we have county government and the thousands of employees that serve our population and frankly make our county special, make our county a desirable place to live for now and the future. So we have to balance those concerns, and as fiduciaries, we really have to look at all 3 of those things with some level of balance as best as we can. And by the way, these are the same standards for those of you who have been in private, you know, private corporate environments as I have. It's the same ball of wax. You can't do one and ignore the other. So in that context, I want to give you a peek inside of the Treasurer's office. These are actual numbers of the revenues that we actually derived as a county and as a county government. So you see on the left side, You see that we have increases, which regrettably, as I've said to you before, we are now going to be achieving $1 billion in our total tax extension. And most of you, like myself, gives us cause for pause. That's money out of people's pockets, and we all hate to see it. But on the other hand, we have to look at what have we been responsible for. And even with the mental health monies being put back into the 2024 tax extension for county government, we still know that we have been relatively flat. So we have had minimal, perhaps not any impact on that increase for the most part, but we're only 6%. We're only 6% of that overall tax extension. And we have to take that into context because, as all of you know who have been knocking on doors recently, I'd be one of them, we know that people are complaining about the thousands of dollars they're paying in taxes, not the, let's say, $39 price tag that we might be considering. So with that, I do think we need to be a little bit of retrospective. And when we look at the slide that Carrie and her team worked so hard on to show us where we are, we see that those blue parts of the bar represent what we could have taken. And when we see that in the context of those years, we see that we've kept between $1,000 and $1,100 in the pockets of the average home for a McHenry County taxpayer when we perseverate over not taxing to the max. And this is unique. If you have been to other taxing bodies, you don't see the kind of dialogue that county government does. It is very impressive, and frankly, I was very proud to be part of that. And you should be too, because that kind of assessment is so valued. But you gotta also recognize that you've accomplished something. You're part of this legacy, and you're also here today to make some decisions that'll translate into overall the budget at the end of the month. So with that, what I also want to say is that we've got challenges, that all the good work has been eaten away. We've had lost years of revenue that didn't come into our coffers. And I see it in that bank balance, and you'll see my analysis in a second. We also now have $1 million of unfunded state mandates. And hey, more to come? Probably. And then lastly, we've had that crushing inflation. And we think that we address it to some degree with our wage, merit increases, but it doesn't, because we also have material costs, we have contractor costs, and all of these things eat away at our budget. So in that kind of conversation, what we see with our fund balances over 2021, in January of 2021, you see a very interesting range of mountains. And this is what we also know as government cash flow. Our cash flow is dictated by when our revenues come in. And our revenues come in where you see the lowest level in each one of the trend lines in front of you. And what does that mean? Well, it means that what we're seeing is the highs are consistently getting lower. And much of this was anticipated in the spend down of reserves. But you've also had those other issues that we talked about that have compounded this. And you see the lows becoming perilously low. And in fact, what we see is the lowest was the incident that I spoke with you where we needed to liquidate some of our investment account so that we could make our expenses. So in that context, we are not getting any better in the current environment. And thus, the whole idea of looking at how can we infuse cash. And let's talk about that. These various options that your CFO has talked to you about have some significant downside when we see the projected losses to the general fund. And that's the top box. These give me cause for pause, because what I talk to you about is money in the bank. That's it. I'm a simple person. I do not have the complex knowledge and ability that your CFO does. I'm just looking at money in the bank. And when I see money in the bank with the trend lines that I just showed you, I am concerned. And the idea that we're going to introduce even more of a utilization of our fund balance, it gives you a sense, it gives you a reality of how much longer you have to be sustainable and to literally keep your boat afloat. So with that, there we go. With that, I want to just articulate the consequences that I see. And, you know, if you guys want more timeline, more analysis, I will get to it before your next meeting. And I'd be happy to do it. I just literally didn't have the time with the tax sales, et cetera. But let me talk to you about the consequences and quickly narrate these items. First off, there is a steady erosion of the fund balance, and the reserve policy is going to encounter problems in maintaining the 5 months plus in reserve. That is already occurring as we see. Secondly, there is an immediate need to reduce investments. We have about 27 million in investments generating, you know, somewhere between 800,000 and 900,000 a year. Well, that's going to have to be reduced. That is going to happen this year. And I will be working with the CFO to figure out how much that will be, because we still got to get to May. And we may have some issues in April. And you know what? That money is to spend. It isn't to make money. But we have to understand that if we can make money, we want to make money. And we all know how much I love making money for all of you. So that is another concern. With that reduction of investments, though, it is temporary if we appropriately fund our county government. It's temporary. But if we choose not to address our need to cover expenses with revenue, and we choose to cover our expenses with reserves, then it's not temporary, it's permanent. And we see a decline then in income regarding reduction of investments. The next thing, you all knew that was coming, the inevitable loss of our county AAA financial rating. That has been a boasting point, a point of pride for all of us, because it says, seal of approval, we have managed our finances in an exemplary way. Well, you know what? When you are the city of Chicago and you're using you're paying your bills by taking out loans, you don't get a AAA, right? And that is not out of the realm of possibilities in the years ahead. And that's what we have to do. We have to take a tough look at a longer term view, because that AAA financial rating, it's also money in the bank if we ever did need to take out loans. And oh, by the way, if you don't have it, if you don't have a good financial situation, that's when you do need to take the loans out, but you don't have the AAA rating, so you spend more on your loans. And all of you who are business people, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's wrap it up. So, yes, of course, we're going to see a steady reduction in investment income, and then, oh darn. This one. Sorry. So we're going to see less income coming out of our investments, and then finally, and oh, by the way, I want to add, I talk about investment income, but I'll also mention bank interest as well. We'll see less of that. And that has been significant. We'll probably see that drop to maybe about 3.5% over the next year with the anticipated cuts to the Fed. But it's money, and many of you call it free money. Well, guess what? You'll see reduction of that too. The final comment, the final point is huge, and that is the risk management of an executive level decision maker, of which I regard each of you as. And what I mean by that is risk management in terms of the what ifs. Are we in a fiscally strong position to address things if we, make this decision versus the other decision? Are we able to handle things like natural disasters where it's the county that steps in? What about recession? Recession leading to sales tax declines. And by the way, the sales tax declines in the recession of 2008 were horrible. But many of you on county don't remember how horrible they were for most governments because we were in a relatively good place. And then finally, I want to also remind all of you that though we've had excellent federal support and thus also state funding support, those days are not happening anytime soon. So we may see a lot less help from the Fed and state. Well, are we going to be in a position for that to be manageable given the things that we know about and the things we don't know about? So that's my feeling on this. And it's driven exclusively by what I'm seeing in our bank accounts. I'd be glad to provide additional analysis if you're interested. And any really tough questions, I encourage you to ask Carrie. But I'm here too.
Hey, Brian, you have questions for Donna?
Yeah, so bottom line, on the record here, your recommendation.
I think the $39 tax, average tax increase per household is really essential to maintain our financial strength. I do.
So, in words, we're talking about the look back plus the abatements of whatever that was.
$3.2 million.
$3.2 million. That's your recommendation. Look back plus a $3.2 million abatement. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hey, Donna, if you go back on your charts there, the one with the highs and the lows.
Sure.
That graph.
Here, just if you. Is that Jim?
Oh, one more.
With that line here, the one with the lines in it.
Yeah. Yep.
So here at the below 5 million there, that's in 25. And then you're assuming you don't have 26 in there with any of the cuts or the actual look back or anything.
Right.
What would happen to these numbers, if we did the CPI and new growth, the look backs, the different scenarios, how bad would this number here get if you just did the CPI and the look back? Do you know that, or would you be able to tell that?
That's something I can work with Carrie on and understand. I need to have a little bit more detail on what are we looking at with each of the monthly expenditures, et cetera. But Jim, since you brought this up.
But Jim, you meant just the CPI and new growth, not the look back,
The
correct?
CPI and new growth, both scenarios.
Yeah, both scenarios.
Because that's gonna move it.
CPI plus new
No, but the
growth.
last one I wanted to
If we
clarify.
just did CPI and new growth, this number here probably goes down here.
Yeah, it goes back to my very simplistic recommendation that the option that includes the abatements and has the least amount of impact on the reserves, that is the solution that I see as the one that keeps us fiscally strong. Here's my concern right here. Do you see that? That was a point, and by the way, the actual daily for the month of May was actually down here. It was actually 3 million. We hit somewhere around 3 million and change during the month of May in that analysis. My concern is as we go out into 26, you see that horizontal line, that gets bigger. And thus we have a bigger gap to fill. And that increasing gap makes it hard for us to make these temporary areas where we can fill in the reserves, and thus we're not going to be able to. It won't be temporary, it'll be permanent, and we'll just again see those reserves declining. Maybe it takes a year or so, but look at how precipitous things occurred just over the last 1.5 2 years. Look at how precipitous things went. And I don't know why we're not going to continue to see that. So this to me was such a powerful, taken exactly from the bank end of month balances. That's where this comes from. And again, we can look at the month of April and May and June, and you'll see even further declines, although then we come back up with the end of month balances that then reoccur.
So I have one further question for you. On the resolutions that the Finance Committee passed this morning, the 5.1 with the lead safe home, the refunding of, or returning of the funds, that was like $1.5 million, I think I read it in your, a couple million, that's going back?
1.7.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Or how much goes back?
We do not have that money.
We don't have, that was my question.
Even if we did, it's not, this is the general fund bank account.
That's my
So it's
question, if that was
complete-
in her funds.
So she
Is that
has
accounted in?
all of the funds, but it's in a different bank account.
Right, so,
But that is a reimbursement grant, so when we say give it back, we're giving the award.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand, but how does that number affect these numbers? Does it affect them for you?
Different bank account.
Yeah.
Just on the interest?
And so what I'm just gonna say, this is the general fund account that we use to make all our payments and where our revenues come in with property taxes.
I just wanted to clarify that wasn't in there, okay,
Just
thank you.
to clarify, like when I use the term fund, there's a corresponding bank account. So like we track everything in like the FICA fund, there's a corresponding FICA bank account. So when I say general fund, she has a general fund bank account, and that's specifically what we're talking
Okay.
about. The lead is a CDBG bank account.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify whether that was.
But it's important because the one thing I think, part of the issue in March was, so this is bank account, remember, so this would include the advance to FICA. So I think part of the reason we're seeing a steeper down than we were kind of anticipating is because of the pressure from these other funds on this bank account.
Yes.
Brian?
I know this is incredibly simplistic, and I apologize for that, but if we just look years ahead, because that's the hardest thing that we have as a job as representatives, is to make a decision today not just for today's comfort and stability, but for the future as well. So that's what you're projecting here. That's what we're talking about. If we were just to go ahead and take new growth and CPI only for the next 5 years, we're going to be in a heck of a situation that we are not going to be able to dig our way out of. Correct?
Yeah, and let me expound upon that a little bit. What compounds our problems in government is dealing with the cash flow.
Correct.
With sales tax, you have it coming in every month. Now, it is 3 months behind, but you're still getting it in every month. It's the difference between, being a consultant and getting a windfall at the end of the project versus somebody who gets paid as an employee every 2 weeks. So we have a problem in paying bills in these months of March, April, May, and the first week or so of June, simply because of the cash flow cycle. So that compounds the cash we really need on hand. And the basic margin that was in there for years has been spent down appropriately, I would say. But now we're at a point where, and again, let's make sure we acknowledge the cost savings to our taxpayers over the many years because of our fiscal conservative decision-making. But now it's time for a refresh. We're just at that point where we can't continue on. And in fairness to the community who is looking to us for our services and the value we provide, we have to acknowledge that as part of our decision as well.
Okay, I want to kind of put this in the practical, realistic situation. And I don't like to make decisions based upon politics. I've always avoided that because I think we are responsible for making the right decision, not a politically comfortable decision, right? So if we do that, the hardest thing that we have to do is to educate and communicate the look back and the abatement to our constituents. How are we going to do that? How are we going to legitimize, if you will, in the mind of our constituents that this is the fiscally responsible thing to do, not just for today, but for the future?
Who are you asking that to?
Everybody.
I'm gonna respond and say that is the challenge. The other part of it, though, is that you're still not going to stop the other side from, communication, what I heard between the two of you, Eric and Brian earlier, communication is not an exact science. What you think you're saying and what you think someone heard are two different things oftentimes.
I say that with my wife all the time. That's a conversation we have all the time.
So my point is that the challenge is to try and explain that to your constituency. But the reality is that no matter how well you try and explain that, you may fail. And the other side will still come back and say, you've raised my taxes. So let's be very realistic when we have that conversation, that no matter how well you think you're doing in explaining, there will always be somebody else who hears it slightly differently. Realistically.
I agree.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, in answer to your question and picking up on the theme you said, and you said something earlier that caught my attention, words have meaning, but each of us speak differently. As an attorney, words have a very specific meaning in how you use those words and phrases, right?
And case to case,
yeah. And you can use that differently to get up to a certain point. Where an average person talking that's not, is just gonna have a conversation and it may be picked up in different ways. I've made it a point to answer every email I've received so far on this. And if there's a phone number, I've made it a point to call that person and have a conversation with them about exactly what we're talking about right now. And I can say unequivocally that every one of those people that I spoke to on the phone had an aha moment. Something they did not realize that was lost in the translation of all this stuff, okay? Because it is complicated. I mean, I probably talked to Carrie more than I've talked to my wife over the last month. And, you know, trying to make sure I'm understanding everything properly and everything that's going on in the different funds, where they're at, what's going on, what's happening. And I think it's incumbent on all of us is when we have those conversations with our constituents is we're not having it from a side. We're having it from the facts that we have in front of us. And that's one of the feedbacks I've gotten from a number of people. We just all got an email from a woman named Cara, I think last Friday. I spoke to her on the phone. And very smart, very intelligent woman, you know, got a lot of information. We had a great conversation. And I wasn't trying to change her mind. I was just trying to give her and that's one of the things she said at the conversation. I appreciate the fact that you weren't trying to tell me one side or the other. You just gave me all the facts. I have to go back now and think about all this information you provided. And I think that's what's important. If you approach the conversation that this is bad or this is good, you're not doing anything. If you approach it as here's all the information and here's what it is, and I'm struggling just like you're struggling, then it becomes a much better conversation and they're educated. Because fund balances and where money's coming from, the general fund or the RTA fund and all these things, they don't get it. And the simplest conversation I've had is, our budget's $288 million. We're asking you for $70 million of $288. 25% of the budget, that's all we're asking for. And that's really an aha moment for people when they think about that. They were only asking $70 million of a $288 million budget. And that seemed to resonate with a lot of people on the phone. That's my 2 cents.
I appreciate your comments, and I think you're absolutely right. In fact, when Eric and I go back and forth, I love the erudite debate, you know, and so we're going to try to pick apart, you know, one side or the other side, and so I respect and I appreciate everything that Eric is doing to try to make sure that we are fiscally responsible here, because that is our position. I mean, that's our role, that's our job, and yet at the same time, we have to find that sweet spot in terms of the balance of revenue and expenses. And I respect Eric certainly, and Terry and others who wish to really make sure that we are doing everything we can to fully examine the impact today in this tax bill that's going to go out and how that affects the future. So I appreciate the conversation. I think you're absolutely right. And it's tough. It's tough because people generally out there do not understand government financing. They just don't understand it, you know, and so it's tough to try to communicate everything, but the conversation is the most positive, constructive thing that we could possibly do. So thank you.
May I make a request to the committee? I really would love if we could include in the committee of the whole Treasurer Kurtz's presentation, if she would do that for us at the committee of the whole, so everybody.
That would be directed to Mike as to what he would like at the committee of the whole. I don't control that.
Okay, I guess, Scott, then I'm talking at you, if you would convey that request to the chairman. I think it's valuable information. I think the slide that you used last night at your presentation on property taxes, as well as the part today that shows that the county has been extraordinarily responsible, which I've been saying for years across the board. For the last 20 years, we've been very fiscally responsible. I think that helps. But I also believe that the information to the entire board would be helpful as well.
While Gloria's asking her question, can you get your yellow slide up so we can have that discussion? Go ahead, Gloria.
Mine are very brief and easy. Donna, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you said with the reducing the investment about 27 million. Did you say that had to happen immediately before the end of the year?
We will be putting together our investment plan. Currently, County Board Member Van Hoff, we have around 3.2 million on the sidelines that is the result of maturing bonds.
So we are not putting that money to work until after we understand what the decision of the board is. Then we will take a look at the cash flows of the maturing bonds and the interest income, as well as that 3.2 million. And then we'll decide how much of that can be invested, what the durations will be, how we'll ladder it, et cetera, so that we can make the right decision that meets the liquidity requirements of the county board's decision. Thank you. And this question, just piggyback on something that Brian asked about the decision. So are we talking about 2.9% CPI and new growth and then 3.2 million abatement?
No,
No.
we're talking about reestablishing the base, so that's the look back option, so that would be 73.8.
Okay.
And then reducing the 3.2 from that.
Okay.
The 2.9
So what
CPI
about-
and new growth would be 67.7.
Okay. So we're not gonna.
It's not included in the total look back.
No, I mean, it's
That's not what's on 30-day review.
correct.
Okay.
So can I,
Can you see that my hand is up?
no.
Oh, okay, well then I will just speak out. I've been waiting quite a while. So just to be clear, I mean, in these conversations, I appreciate everything from everybody. I really appreciate Donna's presentation. These are all valid. This is our perspective. This is what we're seeing in cash flow and what a great job has been done as far as the impact of the county on the property taxes over the last 7 years plus. And again, $39 on an average, or median home in the county. However, 37.5% of the homes are above that amount. And so this will be an impact of probably more between 80 and 100 on these houses for a large portion of the county. So the thing that I don't hear, and that what I keep even this week discussing as things are brought forward, is that we continue to vote for increased expenditures without having any counterbalance in what is going to be cut when these things are increased. And to keep just saying it's going up and up and up, when these households and their incomes, just because your home value goes up doesn't mean that you have that revenue. Just because you're taxed higher on your home doesn't put any money in the taxpayer's pocket. And when we're going out and we're speaking, and John, thank you for your input. I mean, that is very valid. And I've also had feedback from people who've had hour and 23-minute conversations with you, and just, the value of that conversation. We have to remember that every dollar that we're taking from a taxpayer is a dollar that they have to choose what they're not going to spend in their budget. And so I know that we've looked at some amounts on cutting expenses. And I also want to say, that, yes, we can put this forward as no new growth, no CPI, no tax increase, we're just increasing the base. And that's only going to increase your taxes by, we can do that. But going through and making the hard decisions. I mean, because some people in McHenry County would say, well, I guess, if it comes down to a bike path or another service, and we're not giving them that choice. We're making those decisions for them. This is when we can go out to our districts and talk about the services and what they want and what they're willing to pay for. And so this is where I'm not hearing the advocacy. We're just talking amongst ourselves and we're forgetting those constituents. There's 112,000 separate homes in this county, you guys, that are gonna get these tax bills. And Donna, you know better than I how many go out. So that is what I want us to remember as we're looking at this and looking for answers on this.
We have not, as a board, or even as a finance committee, discussed the yellow options that have been shown for the last several months. And so I wanted to talk through these. We've had individual board members make comments on the yellow ones at committee of the wholes and special budget meetings, but I thought it would be worthwhile to have the discussion here about what our appetite is, and seeing how we're only missing 5 board members from all 18, you know, it's a good time to go through these items and see if there is interest amongst the board to do any of these items that would be added to the 3.2 million in abatement. So I think we can just go through each one individually and see, you know, if there is an appetite by a majority of the board to do these items. And Scott's all excited about, you know, whiteboarding it, so. And I think there's people in the room here that, you know, we can, if there's questions about what does that mean, you know, like let's take the first one, move squad car replacement to RTA. What does that mean? What is that gonna impact? You know, if the board members have questions about that, then we can ask those questions. But ultimately, I'd like to go through these items real quick, and or as long as, you know, theoretically it takes, just to see if there is any, you know, a majority of the board that wants to do this, or people that are present, I should say. So the move squad car, the first one, is there anyone wanting to move that one? Try and move that forward?
If it helps, I'm gonna try to move all of them.
Okay, and that's fine. That's cool. I'm good with that. I mean, you know, I'm okay with people
I mean,
who are
just so
like,
we don't have to.
Yeah, no,
There
that's
will
fine.
always be one person.
okay, and that's fine. I respect that, and it's fine. So I just am trying to see if there's others.
Yeah, if we're gonna do this look back, I think everything up there is on the board for me at this point, and I wouldn't have said that a month ago, but if the look back's gonna move forward, then I wanna get the abatement in a position of as big as it could possibly be.
Okay.
So, yes on the squad car thing.
Okay.
That's on the squad car.
I'm yes on the squad car.
Okay.
Are we just doing squad car?
I'm just doing the first one.
Just do the first line.
Okay. I'm just doing the first one. I'm just kind of going through these. So. Okay.
So, question,
Were we gonna have any discussion on what that meant before we
Yeah.
start voting?
Well, we're not voting. We're just.
Well, I mean,
I'm-
before we raise our hands or not raise our hands, are we gonna discuss what that means with the, like?
If board members have questions about what that means and the implications of, in this particular case, this one, to transportation, then yes, we should have that discussion. So, go ahead, Jim.
On the squad cars, I'm against it. I believe Joe and Scott probably should have some input on this for us, what it would do to us long-term. I don't believe this is a one-year thing. It becomes a annual decrease in the transportation, and that's 5 years, that's $2.5 million. Probably closer to 3 to 4 when you get, it grows. So I have an issue with that, even starting that slippery slope there. It just deteriorates our services down the road, especially when we don't know what's gonna happen to our RTA funds in the future with all the craziness going on in the RTA right now. So I'm against that one. I'm actually against all of them, but I could live with a couple of them, so.
It's gonna be hard, I think, but I think we have to derive consensus on everyone, majority consensus, whatever that's going to be, and I think that's what we're I appreciate that. So I think we just have to kind of take a opportunity to discuss each one, but then we have to take a consensus votes on every one of these line items to kind of find out where we ultimately are. So.
Yes, Larry?
I'm supportive of all of them, and that really hurts me because I'm a master gardener, and U of I Extension is one of my heartfelt passions. But it's what has to happen right now.
Go ahead, Larry.
Okay, I don't disagree with Jim completely, but I think this is a very unique budget year. And I don't see that I need to take into consideration that it's gonna be a slippery slope automatically. So when I make my comments about any of these, I'm only doing it for this year.
So, Scott, I don't know who wants to make a comment, but I mean, is the implication of, and again, I think this is the correct approach, that this is a one-year situation, and if, yeah, okay, I know I gotta go. Huh?
I could've got that for him.
No, it's my alarm telling me I gotta get the hell out of here, so. Do you want to go through and say, if we took $1 million out of RTA, what does that do for next year's programming? Or what did I say? $1 million? Okay, sorry, $500,000. What does that do for next year's programming for where those dollars would theoretically have gone?
Well, it's gonna just push everything further back, or projects would be dropped, is the short answer for that. And that if you're cutting that by 500,000 for that, that's gonna compound again. I know you're saying it's only for this year, but the way it was showing that, depending on where it goes, historically, the RTA funds have been used for transportation unless it's been a single item, i.e. we did the radios at one time. And that does require a resolution of the board for that. So that would reduce our RTA fund by 500,000 or plus if you do it in future years. That's just 500,000 less in projects that we could do.
Okay.
It's important people understand that. Our RTA sales tax is only used for projects. It's not to fund staff, it's not to fund operations of the DOT. It's for projects, mainly our resurfacing program. That's how we use to resurface the county roads every single year. We build bridges with it. I mean, those are the things.
MC Ride and MC Connect also.
So whether it's a one-time thing or a annual thing going forward, that will have an impact on the amount of projects we can do in the future.
Good.
But all the money in the, correct me if I'm wrong, all the money in the RTA fund has not been allocated currently to projects.
In our 5-year program, it
Yes,
has.
it has.
Every penny, including interest?
So when we do our 5-year program, and we look out 5 years, what we do as practice is we spend down all of our fund balances over the next 5 years on projects.
Okay.
So you're correct that next year, we still have a fund balance in RTA sales tax, but over the next 5 years, every single dollar that has been spoken for projects.
Then it'll renew on the backside every year as the sales tax dollars come in.
Correct, yes.
So you would be, so basically, okay. And does that include the interest expense? You budgeted that?
We factor that in as
Yes.
well into our revenues going forward.
Okay.
John, our needs are greater than what we can put in a 5-year program.
Sure,
So
sure.
our 5-year
Yeah.
program is fiscally constrained.
So I think taking the top two, I think doing either of these, it may not have an impact on the projects we do next year. But within the next 5 years, that's a project that won't get done. Or might have to go out 7 years or 8 years to get to that project. So that's as much sort of specificity as I think we can provide.
Okay.
And John, I want to add too with that, if you're saying the second one, the bridge and matching. Not that long ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we were at $3 million in matching and bridge. So you've already used that lever to reduce funding for transportation projects over these years.
And just to be clear, so we've already cut the matching and bridge under a budget that's for review by 500,000. This is to eliminate the matching and bridge fund entirely. So we were at 3 million, now we're at 500,000. This would be going down to 0 every single year going forward.
Well, unless we renew it next year.
Yeah, correct.
Well, and that's why you can't zero it out.
No, I understand that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matching and bridge are also used just for projects. They're not for staff, they're not for operations, for projects.
Okay, is everyone clear about the implications of making that decision? Yes, okay, and the second, I mean, the first one and second one, I guess they're both germane, but
I was gonna say, I think that's a 900,000 hit to transportation, and I'm uncomfortable with that large of an amount. And I think we've already, as you stated, we've already cut in certain areas. So if we had to do something, I would look more at the squad car replacement, but, you know, I don't like any of them, but yeah.
I think that if we take both of these, we're setting on the path that going forward, these are going to continue to stay in general fund. And if we do that, we have a deficit elsewhere, so it's a Peter Paul situation. And yeah, there's revenue coming in, but on the RTA side, I don't think I'd be in favor of either one of those. I'm very uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
So can we just take the two top ones, just the two top ones, back to transportation right now, and just go around and say yes or no?
Yeah, I'd like to say something first though. So, I guess as far as the squad car replacement, the 900,000 we're talking about, the top two line items. I mean, I agree that it's very possible it would be, you know, going forward, right? I still support it. I think it makes sense. As far as taking funds away from transportation, I suppose that's technically true, although theoretically, right, you still have the general fund, and we could, for some special project or, you know, particularly important project, still dip into it. But the other thing is, it goes back to I think it was 7, I forget what one it was, but about the likely bicycle path that we voted on earlier. It just goes to, I think transportation is just gonna need to focus on spending or on the most important projects. They're just gonna have to prioritize. And when we're going for these tax increases, and if we're unwilling to make cuts, and these aren't even cuts, these are just less projects. I mean, it's not truly a cut. It's not like we're getting rid of a road. We're just not going to build whatever the new, you know, the pedestrian walkway or whatever the project is. You know, I think that's fair. If we're asking for this record, you know, single year increase, how can we not say, and maybe we'll prioritize, or we'll make the tough decisions on what projects are going to get funded going forward. I don't think that's unfair. And then on top of that, we also have, you know, since I've been on the board anyway, we have increased the motor fuel tax fund, which went to transportation. So we're decreasing it this year, but in the past we have increased it. I don't think this is a big ask for either of these items.
Okay. I think we have to think of this as a one-year situation, because again, what we're doing is we're increasing the abatement, right? So next year, the board will look at all of this all over again, and if they want to do something like this all over again, then again, it would go to increasing whatever the abatement is next year. So I think board has to decide this on a year-by-year basis based on whatever the criteria and information that we have at that point in time. I think it's difficult to assume that this is whatever I mean, the levies are the levies, right? So you reduce the levies, more than likely we're not bringing the levies back. I mean, that's kind of pretty obvious, but I mean, the squad car, that's something, we buy new squad cars every single year. So that's something that, you know, and the only comment that I'll make on that particular item is, you know, I think when the discussion was happening in Springfield regarding the new transit bill, you know, there was other counties that utilize those RTA funds for a lot of other things besides roads, bridges, and, you know, I'll say infrastructure needs. And we were one of, I think, 2 counties. We were one of 2?
I thought we were one of one.
We were one.
I think we were one of one.
So either we were the only county, or there might have been another county that you know, didn't do that. And again, what was the intent of the RTA dollars to begin with, you know? State legislature aside and the wisdom that they have down there, we're supposed to be using it for infrastructure. So I do have, you know.
Or limited to public safety, not just for anything. It has to be transportation or public
Correct.
safety, so that, okay, just
Yes,
clarify.
well, that's how we're able to do this,
Right,
but yes.
right,
But
right.
a lot of them are using it for the public safety side and not for,
On a recurring basis.
yes.
Yeah.
They're making their day-to-day.
That's how it's.
It's important to note, those counties that are using it for public safety, their system is built out already. Their transportation system is fully built out. They have less needs as far as improving their transportation system than collar counties like us have. I mean, we are behind the DuPage counties of the world. Every single DuPage county
Good
roads
point.
4 or 6 lanes. We are not in the same situation here. We still have
Very
needs
good
that are
point.
unmet. That's why we have used it for transportation. Can I just add one thing too, as kind of another wrinkle? I don't know if you recall, in the capital plan, there is a need for radio replacement. I want to see, it's like 2 million, 3 million? So that will be something that is coming up in the next couple months. You know, and depending on the funding for the general fund, funding for those radios, you know, may have to be considered to come from RTA.
Sandy, do you want to interject? You stood up, so.
Oh, no, I'm just stretching.
Oh, sure you are.
Perfect timing. Yeah,
The radios are not just for the sheriff either.
No, they're not.
That's throughout the, yeah.
But just something else to consider, and this would be one-ish, right? Once every 4 years, 5 years.
And RTA paid for them last time.
Correct.
Correct.
But it is something that has to be funded. So depending on the general fund balance, you know, RTA may be an option.
Right, but this goes back to my theory, this is not a one-off, that 500,000. Radios are reoccurring, so now every 4 years, we're gonna come up with $2.5 million out of the RTA to pay
it's
for
an option.
radios for the entire county. And then it's gonna be the same with the squad cars. Every year, we're gonna start using this $500,000. You can say it's a one-time, but you're only robbing Peter to pay Paul here. You're not cutting anything. You're not cutting out 500,000 in cars. You're still paying for it.
Well, and my counterpoint would be, well, that's what we're doing by doing the look back to begin with, so.
So if the look back fails, you're gonna cut, you're gonna do this?
I think we should, because if
If the look back fails?
If the look back fails, I think you still need to make cuts, because in fact, I would argue it's even more important to do this if the look back fails, because now we have less revenue. So in either situation, I think you have to make cuts. And I don't think, again, you know, we look at it as, oh, we have to increase taxes, and that's true, but it's only true if you never look at the expense side. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the case in McHenry County, but you look to the state, and that's why they're so fiscally irresponsible, frankly, because they never make cuts, ever. Now, their situation is they borrow money, right? And I'm not saying we do that, but yeah, if you're not going to raise revenues, or if you're opposed to raising revenues, which I am, your taxes, right? Then you have to make cuts. And if you don't make cuts, you're just essentially, even if you just did this for 1 year, which again, I don't care how we're viewing this, but if you did only do this for 1 year, you're just kicking the can down the road 1 year. So I think you have to look at expenses, and I think you have to make the decision on what we're going to cut. Otherwise, every single year, we're gonna be in this situation of, oh, we have to raise taxes because we're never willing to cut anything.
But we've already agreed to cut almost 4 million out of the budget.
Right.
Successfully.
Right.
We've all agreed to that. So we've cut that amount of money. Now we're looking at additional possible cuts. I get that. I understand that. I think that's important to do.
Well, I think though,
You're talking about the green options.
Yeah.
clarification though, so these aren't, except for the non-union mayor or whatever, but the first two are not cuts. They're reallocating resources in a different way.
That's right.
Okay, so it's not a cut, but we do have the ability, we have money in different buckets that we can reallocate under the rules that allow us then to do other things. So, you know, we have $4.4 million in cuts, which is like 5%. It's 4.5%, that's 4.5% of the budget. which is pretty, it's a pretty good cut, a good place to start.
Well, not the budget, the levy.
No,
The
budget,
budget.
$4.5 million.
Right, but our budget is 280 million, that's not.
Not that we're levying.
No, I'm talking the general fund, I apologize. I was talking about the general fund. So, because that's what we're really talking about here. So we have the ability we have money sitting in buckets that we can reallocate. Just as we should look at cuts, we need to look at how that money is sitting and what we can use it for.
I agree, it's all about prioritization, no matter what the department.
Exactly, prioritization,
I agree.
that's what I was looking for, thank you.
Okay.
So could we get a consensus on those two?
Can we do them separately?
Yeah, do them separately.
Okay.
Yeah, here's my only comment, well, let's do it first. Go ahead. Larry, you said yes?
First off, I want to say, I don't like any of this. But it's a unique year. I consider it a one-year deal, just as Chairman Scala said. I said yes to the RTA for the squad cars. Do you want the bridges? I'll go with that too for right now.
Yeah, let's do both of them.
So you're saying, go ahead and cut them?
Reallocate.
Reallocate the money because it's a one-year deal in my
What is the
mind.
vote saying here? This is what I want to know. Is a yes vote or a no vote? And if you go yes, you're saying reallocate them, right?
Yep.
To the abatement.
Right. And if you say no, then that means that we're going to go ahead and
Keep them where they're at.
leave it as is.
Yeah.
Right?
And again, this
grows
isn't,
from it grows from 3.4
3.2.
to whatever this is, to the 1.4.
It'd be 4.1 if you took those two.
yeah. And again, this isn't a vote because we're just trying to understand where everyone's at, because eventually we'll have to deal with this at the committee of the whole and at the board meeting. And I just wanted an opportunity for us to have this whole discussion, because we can have it at the committee of the whole. I'm fine with that too, but I thought I would try and circumvent a little bit of that, so.
Right, so this is, we're trying to look to see if we have majority consensus. In
Correct.
these areas. That's what we're looking for,
Yep.
majority consensus.
Keep her moving down the road.
Okay, Carolyn?
All right, so I would be all right with the 500,000. Moving the bridge and matching levies, that would take it off to a 0, and I'm not sure we should take it to 0. So
We wouldn't take it to 0, we would take it to
What is it
some
going to?
minimal 1,000 or something, just like we did with Valley High, we take it to some
Well,
small
it was
amount.
500 down to take 400, was 100 left in there.
Was that what it was?
Did I hear wrong?
No, we want 10,000 in Valley.
Okay,
Not really, I am talking about this one.
Yeah, we do something.
we do something, right,
Take it down
to something, so it stays there, then I'm fine with that. So-
Okay. Jen?
Slowly shifting.
I'm against both because neither are actual cuts.
Okay. Pam?
Can I, clarification, am I assuming that this discussion of reducing or increasing the amount abated means that everybody is agreeing to the look back?
I don't know that we agree
No, it
with
does not
that.
mean that. No, come on, just to be super clear.
Well, that's why I'm asking the
Yeah.
question.
I
mean,
believe that the consensus about look back or CPI, new growth, or nothing, status quo, we need to get a consensus on that first, in my mind.
I agree.
I mean, we can, but but 2 seconds, assume that look back doesn't happen. This is the first place we're going to look to see if we're cutting it. So to me, it's germane either way.
That's okay, I just wanted to clarify, I get it. I just wanted clarification that this is just to give you options when we go to the committee of the whole, that if a look back fails and it is 2.9 and new growth, we're gonna have to come up with additional reductions anyway.
Yeah.
I got it, that's what I'm saying.
And honestly, this isn't even gonna cover that, so.
Yeah, I got it, I'm just being clear.
Okay, so your answer is?
I don't like any of them, but if I had to, I probably would do, as I stated, do the squad car replacement to RTA 1 year, assuming, and not the bridge and matching funds.
Okay. Gloria?
I would say no on both 1 and 2. I'm agreeing with Member Kearns on that.
Okay. Mike?
Ostensibly, they're both cuts to transportation. It's gonna end up pushing the projects back. I'm gonna say contradict myself. I'm gonna say yes, 1 year on the squad car replacement, fully understanding that next year we're gonna have another $500,000 to deal with. And I'm gonna say no on the bridge and matching levies.
I as well would not necessarily be okay, but you know, these are things that we really need to consider. But the squad car to RTA for 1 year and no on the bridge.
Okay. Brian?
No on both.
I'm sorry, what's on both?
No.
Yes on the cars, and the bridge and levy not to reduce it to zero.
Okay.
You reduce it, so it's still there so we can bring it back.
Okay.
So then, a yes on bridge and levy as well?
Yeah.
Yes on both.
Yes on both.
And I would be no on the squads and a yes on the levies.
Terry?
Yeah, I would be yes
Paul's
to
on
all
there too.
for 1 year.
Okay. Senior services levy,
What about Paul Thomas? Is he on there
Yeah,
still?
he's still on.
Paul's on.
is he? Hey, Paul.
I have no idea.
Oh, I didn't know Paul.
I didn't know Paul was on, so.
He's just been listening.
He might not be on.
He's on.
Hey, guys.
Still on.
There he is.
Hi, Paul.
Good afternoon now. I would be a no on both of them.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Paul. Senior services levy?
Are you asking me?
Sure. Hey, you can start.
I would be a yes.
Okay. We'll go this way. Stan.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay, so he's kidding them here.
So you were, no?
No.
No.
Tracy?
I'm just waiting for him to catch up.
Oh.
No, I'm a no.
No. Mike?
No.
No. Gloria?
No.
As my leader said once down in Springfield, I'm a hell no.
Okay.
I was gonna say, she better be on. I know.
I guess the one thing seniors pay, you know, we've been talking about property taxes, they're hit harder than anybody. It's a give back, for goodness sakes.
I'm a no also.
Okay.
No.
No?
I consider it a 1 year deal and everything's on the board, so I'm a yes.
I'd be a no. Non-union merit, 3 point.
Wait,
She's
and
a-
I just want to say something.
She's a-
This is just moving it to a different fund, and it's just 1 year, so I would be a yes.
Okay.
It's not removing the benefits to the
It's gone,
seniors.
actually.
Okay.
Where's it come from?
The merit, how about we start with Mike?
Sorry.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
This is possible, but to me, it's not very attractive because we've already passed a resolution setting the non-union merit at 3 1/4. And we do have department heads meeting now with staff, doing their annual evaluations and talking about wage increases. So again, this is possible, but we would have to do some backtracking.
Okay, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Tracy?
Yes.
Warren?
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a no.
Yes.
No.
I'm a no.
No.
Okay. U of I extension?
Yes.
Wait, you gotta let him catch
Paul
up.
and
Oh, I thought. Oh,
Terry, we put you down for yes for everything, if it helps.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Paul?
And I don't like it. Nobody
I'm a
likes
yes.
having.
Paul's a yes, okay. Hey, Paul, while you're doing that, what about the U of I extension?
I would be a yes.
Still need to catch up.
She said she's on.
Yeah. Right. Pam, you were?
She was a no,
I was a no.
and Gloria was a no.
And Jim?
I was a no.
Carolyn?
I was a no, no.
No. Okay. Larry?
He was a yes.
Mike Scala?
That was a no.
All right, thank you.
All right, U of I expansion, Paul?
Yes.
Okay. We'll start with Jim.
I'm an absolute no on that one. $70,000 to take away from the kids, I don't think so.
Okay. Carolyn?
No.
I agree with Jim, no.
No?
Yes.
Yes. No.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
My chosen no, right?
Correct.
All right.
No, it's a no.
He was a no, Pam?
So, no.
No, okay.
Soil and water conservation, that's what we give.
Brian?
No.
Okay, Mike?
No. Okay, soil and water conservation. I'll start this one. That's a no for me.
No.
That's our most important resource. Jesus.
No. If you're going to.
Jim?
In my past, I would have been a yes on it, but I'm gonna go no on that one also.
No,
I'm shaking
no.
my head no.
No. Gloria?
No.
Mike?
No.
No. I agree.
No.
I agree.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
But now that Joanna's gone, I think we have another problem. The next one
You have
is-
Ryan's in my slot there, but I'm a no too, so just that open slot there, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, thank you.
Okay. And last, I don't know how you want to handle the hiring freeze and no new positions, because that's, I think that's we've slashed everything that we can. We've cut and eliminated as part of the green stuff. I don't know.
I have a question. If we were to impose a 6-month freeze on general fund positions that are not perceived as emergency or necessary, I would say, how much would that save?
1.2 million, based on what Pete and Carrie sent me.
But we resolved a lot of those, it's really just, I need to get a new list, because of course it's
Hey, we
changes.
can't hire Scott.
But what is your projection? I mean, this is the one that I'm totally open on. I believe that a 6-month hiring freeze is something that many businesses do, many units of government do, to
But
control
Brian,
your budget.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
How do you you make a freeze across all new hires?
The general fund.
Yeah, right, but that being said, take sheriff's office, because they're general fund typically, you know, if they have 5, 6, 7 sheriffs that suddenly leave or retire or whatever, that's screwing them over versus a department who doesn't have anyone that leaves. So I don't want to say you're penalizing, but you're arbitrarily saying there's a hiring freeze. You better make sure that your employees don't leave because your whole department could be screwed.
Yeah,
How
that's
long
right.
does it- how
I don't
long-
disagree with that.
You put a dollar amount to the
And we
date.
have that information. I mean, typically, people let us know ahead of time that they're retiring, so you would kind of know. And I think under those circumstances, an emergency circumstance, we could consider. But I'd love to pursue that and get an idea of what number we could utilize for that.
Depends on who leaves.
Absolutely.
You could still get average.
Sorry, first off, when I said 1.2 million, I just want to be clear, that was for the whole year, right? It wasn't 6 months. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I said 1.2 and you were talking about 6 months, so I apologize. As far as the hiring freeze or no new positions, not necessarily, I guess the other thing I want to clarify is these were open but vacant positions. So I was just considering those. I assume, right, we'd be budgeting for, you know, say the sheriff's department, the deputy sheriff A, if he retired, we'd still have budgeted for him, so I imagine they'd be able to then put that position up higher and it would still be accounted for. These are just currently unavailable as of when I received it. I don't know if it's changed, but they were currently unavailable. There were
You say
3.
currently unavailable, what does that mean?
It was I asked for a list of vacant but unfilled positions from the general fund.
So a lot of the greens and a lot of the restructuring on the new supplemental list,
These were additional.
they have been addressed, all the vacant. And the vacant list is hard because it's changing.
Right, but they, based on, I forget how many positions there were exactly, but it was 1.2 million that were vacant but unfilled. 3 of them, roughly, don't quote me exactly, but 3 of them were the sheriff's departments. 2 of them were correctional officers, and I believe 1 was a deputy sheriff. So even if you exempted, or even if we wanted to remove the sheriff, those 3 vacant, the sheriff's not touch the sheriff's department, it would still be roughly 900,000 for currently unfilled positions. One of them has been open at the time for 18 months. Most of them were, dramatically less, like in the 3 to, 9-month range, I'm guessing. But there was one that was open for 18 months.
These are not ones accounted for in the 4-point-something million projection?
So we had, so a lot of those were in process of being filled, and like you said, for like the corrections officers, we budget for however, I can't remember, a specific set of FTEs. So as those positions open and close, we just backfill them. But the ones that have been open for a while, we addressed with some reorganization, specifically in the health department.
At least on the list that, I think it was in earlier October when I got it.
That list has, the majority of those have been either eliminated or filled.
They weren't in October though, and our budget numbers haven't changed.
Yeah, so the green, the additional, I think it was 250-some thousand, those were addressed.
These were outside of it, except for 3 of the positions, they were outside. There was a column that said they are currently budgeted for.
Yeah, so at one of the versions, we had some additional reduction in one of the green columns. It was like 250-some thousand. And those were addressing some of those positions that were budgeted, but not filled, and we eliminated them.
And then I asked for the unfilled positions after that meeting, after the budget presentation meeting.
Yes, and so we continue to work on that list, and we made a lot of changes in the health department, and that's what's on the new supplemental worksheet.
What about the other positions though?
So there were some state's attorney that were in the process of getting filled, some court services. I think there was one from court services that was in the process of being filled.
Because the list I got didn't have any state's attorney or public defender or any court personnel unless you count the sheriff.
There was state's attorney.
Okay, I think, we can go on forever on this. I think what we're gonna have to do is kind of come to some kind of consensus whether we believe a hiring freeze, and I'll just say for 6 months, which would be from December, right, through June, is that right? No, December through May 31st. December through May 31st, a hiring freeze on general funded positions. That doesn't mean that if there's an emergency situation that exceptions could not be made. They can be brought forward to the board to say, yes, we exempt that position, go ahead. That's still a possibility, but I'm talking about a general fund freeze for that period of time. Mike?
So just to clarify, the freeze would mean, let's just say the sheriff's office had 5 deputies that retired. Can they fill those positions at all, or are they restricted from filling those positions?
A hiring freeze, they'd be restricted entirely. What I was talking about was the vacant positions, if we just, okay.
Like, yes, they would not be able to hire those except the opportunity to come forward and exempt those positions.
So could we have that contingent on it? This is a critical condition.
Right.
So if 5 police officers all of a sudden decided that they were gonna move to Florida
Right.
You know.
Those are, you know, the what ifs, and we can get lost in the what ifs. So I think we just have to think about the standard
So we
kind of approach here.
say a hiring freeze, but if it's a critical position, you can come and present it before the board and we can make a decision on that.
Question. This list is unless I'm missing something, is to add dollars to the abatement amount. How would we even know what that number should be? And if we put it in there,
Well, I guess.
and then we have to bring a sheriff in, does that affect the abatement amount? That we don't have that money anymore?
But it's
I
not,
feel like,
but it's not just the abatement. Remember, we talked, that was my question. This is what happens if the look back doesn't pass and there's only another option. And I'll say the 2.9 plus the new growth, there still will need to be potentially other reductions in the budget. And this is where we'd start. That was the conversation that
right, but I mean, there's no, how do we put a dollar amount?
I get that. I just think it's a willingness to look at it.
I think the consensus may be on this, that we agree that we may have to do a hiring freeze, but.
That's all we're looking at right now. I mean, that's what we've done on all the others.
But there's, okay.
And I think staff can come up with, if you give them the guidelines of 6 months, December through May 31st, give them that guideline and say that's it. And then they can calculate a number, put that in there, and that's what we're with if we don't go with the look back, right?
Yep.
And so to be clear, this would be all inclusive.
All inclusive, certainly, except there is an opportunity for critical. Well, and
That would be a committee level discussion then. Because as the administrator coming in, I'm going to be asked to implement and enforce this. So it's going to be incredibly important that I understand the parameters because I'm going to be able to.
Yes, it would come to committee and then it would go forward to the board. Right. Okay, so let's get our position on that. Do we think we should be looking at a 6-month hiring freeze? Larry?
It's sort of still some gray area there for me on that. Where are we gonna find the dollar amount that's gonna, I mean, I'm looking at this to go against the abatement. You're saying that they're gonna give us a dollar amount if they take 2 positions off the budget? I can say yes.
I'll look to see the first 6 months of this year, what we're vacant.
I mean, there's some reserve because I think there's some gray area, but on the surface, it's a yes.
I agree there's gray area.
Hold on, I just want to clarify. Are we talking about vacant or are we talking about a hiring freeze? Because
Hiring freeze.
my understanding is hiring freeze right now.
Hiring freeze.
Yeah, so that means you don't fill vacant
Oh, yeah,
positions.
right.
Everyone yes for the rest of it.
Okay, Larry's yes, Caroline?
Well, given we get information, it is a gray area, and I think the consensus is that we're willing to consider it.
Okay.
Is that what it?
Jim?
I'm a definite yes.
Pam?
Willing to consider.
Definitely yes.
Mike?
I prefer to call it a hiring slush, but I'll say yes.
Yes.
Tracy, yes. I'm a yes.
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 And
I may use that.
we have Paul out there, Paul?
Yep, I'm a yes.
And we got Terry.
Terry's gone. She was a yes for everything.
She was a
She's a yes for
Okay, so I think we got a unanimous yes on that. All right, so do we have a report then from Scott, please?
So,
Well, hold on.
In terms of each one of these steps,
Oh,
each one of these, what's the majority consensus on these?
We have a couple 50-50.
so this is the other group, and this group consists of 14 members of the group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the 14 are in support of the RTA transference for squad cars.
So say that again.
So there is majority support, or let's say consensus of the president for the using RTA for squads.
Scott, would you please write it up there, like 9 out of 14, say 9/14 somewhere?
I'll get the numbers.
Okay. Okay, 9 out of 14. Bridge and matching levies.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So split.
7. Okay. Okay, senior services,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 14.
5 out of 14 are willing to look at it, reduce it, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, non-merit, union merit,
7 and 7.
7 and 7. 7 out of 14.
and extension,
4 out of 14. 3 out of 14 for some.
You know, actually, I didn't record Paul's,
He said no.
all the no on soil and water conservation.
wait, we're on extension right now,
It's 4 out of
4 out
14.
of 14 for the extension.
okay?
3 out of 14 for the next one.
3 out of 14 for the next one, and
Unanimous.
unanimous
13 out of 13.
highway.
Because Mike's not here, so 13 out of 13.
Okay, so
What's that? That was.
so the two that are kind of up there in terms of a tie were merit and bridge. So those are the ones that would have to have a lot more discussion in terms of the committee of a whole. All these are open, but the committee of a whole discussions will focus on bridge probably and merit. And the rest of them have a majority that are unwilling to, or that think they should be kind of removed or tabled for consideration. So,
And I just want to add, Carrie, were these the only yellow options? For some reason, I remember more.
There was the county board health insurance, I took that one off.
Okay, is that the only one that was taken off?
Correct.
Okay.
You took it off because it doesn't apply to 2026.
Right, it's not, yeah, it's not,
Right.
it wouldn't happen.
I mean,
Okay,
it's
fair
not
enough.
off the.
Fair enough. No, that makes sense.
so let's be clear here then, in terms of what we're looking at as kind of a recommendation to go forward here. This, we are saying then that senior services is basically off the table by the majority. It's off the table for a cut.
People here,
I don't believe that. I'm going to argue with this whole thing, because it all has to do with whether you pass the look back.
I agree, we're gonna go back to that.
I don't think so, but.
If we're gonna cut, if we have to go back, the majority is saying that senior services is off the table. The majority is saying extension is off the table. Majority are saying that SWCD is off the table for consideration for cutting.
Well,
That's what we're saying.
of people here, yes.
Well, it's out of
Yeah,
the
and I was
majority,
thinking the same thing.
majority of the board
Four
here,
people who are
but
not.
that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
So those are kind of off the table. Leaving on the table though, we're looking at certainly RTA, right? We're looking at bridges, we're looking at merit, and we're looking at the freeze. Those are the things that kind of remain on the table for further consideration and accounting.
Well, and potentially, right, the, 4, 5, 7. Oh, no, yeah, I guess you got one.
But we're basically taking off the table for the COW meeting.
Never say never, but yes.
I know, senior services, extension, and SWCD. Everything else is kind of still on the table for consideration. Are we in agreement to that?
Well, can I just say though that
I'm not.
the other 4 members will be there, so some of those numbers could change.
If the votes remain the same, that's what I was trying to figure out. If the votes remain the same, it doesn't matter because we're only missing 4.
Right.
So it wouldn't actually change the vote for any of the ones that we're saying are on consideration. Because even if we had all 4 go one way, it wouldn't actually affect anything. There'd be no tie or majority change.
Okay,
Can I bring up a point?
sure.
We had this yellow came up with, you kind of did a survey and people came up with these things. I feel, one, the transportation has taken it, they took 9% off their budget from the very get-go, I believe. 9%, we're gonna take away more. We have departments that didn't take away anything. And I think if this happens, we ought to take a mandatory across the board on those departments that haven't taken, say, 5%. So they got to take 5%. I don't care where it comes from, they need to come up with it.
I'd
If we
support
don't
that.
pass a look back or anything else, you got to do it.
Look, I understand your point, okay? But those dollars are not general fund dollars.
Well, they
In
might be.
transportation.
They might be.
They might be.
They are.
I mean, some of them are, yes.
Are they?
So, yes.
The highway?
No. I'm saying other departments.
The 9% he's talking about, how much of that affected the general fund?
I'm not sure what 9% you're talking about.
I'm saying the transportation cut 9% out of their levy this year.
The levy's staying
And
the same.
they did it before,
The levy's staying the
Oh,
same.
because they already reduced bridge and matching.
because they already reduced the bridge and everything. And they took $1 million out of their bridge the last 2 years. And now we're taking the rest of it on top of this year.
Well, I'm saying
They
it,
gave it up.
but
So
you're
my
comparing
point
apples to oranges.
is transportation's taken almost entire hit here. And there's other departments, health department and all those other ones didn't take any cuts at all.
That's not true.
That's not true, Jim.
Health department took cuts.
Okay, so I'm saying, just general though, take it across the board,
Can I just-
5% at least.
Can I just say something really quickly?
Okay,
Because
Carolyn, please.
Because some of our departments that, like planning, when, and some of our smaller departments where they don't, you can't, it's a bigger department like health and transportation are gonna have a lot easier easier being relative, finding those areas to cut than a smaller department that is more reliant on general fund for their funding. And I don't think it's like an apples to apples comparison. I mean, to do a blanket, you're gonna do this no matter what, is not taking into consideration what's already been done in that department and what their constraints are and where their money is coming from. Transportation with the motor fuel tax, every year that thing is indexed.
You don't have the money. You don't have the money. Transportation,
what do
you're
we-
giving up safety issues and infrastructure. You're giving that up on all of them, including the sheriff's department, that's safety and everything else. You're giving up, because they're the two largest ones. So yeah, they're gonna take the big hits here, but the other one's gotta give something.
That ship has sailed. I mean, we're down a different path, Jim.
Okay, if
mean,
you
you're
want to go
talking-
that way.
you're talking something 3
Then I
months ago.
change my vote on the entire.
I think what we need to do is we need to come back together. I think we need to come to a general consensus, and it needs to be a strong majority consensus as we move forward to the committee of the whole, whether or not we are recommending the look back. Or are we going to the new growth CPI? So let's just get down to brass tacks here. Let's find out whether we have a strong majority consensus for the look back or not. It's not fair for us to keep going back to staff unless they know what they're working with. So they need to present some solid figures to us at this coming committee of the whole.
Well, I don't think it's unfair to say that they should look at least both of those scenarios, frankly. Because in May, we were, they were supposed to evaluate it. And frankly, they did evaluate the 2.9% already anyway. So it shouldn't be a high lift to do both, because I assume they've evaluated both.
We're narrowing things down. As Kerry said at the very beginning, our job right now in this committee is to go from here to here. We've got to have what we're looking at up here so that they can present that to us.
Yeah, they can present both scenarios. It's not hard.
We're,
They already did it in September.
but we're going to have to come to consensus at the committee of the whole anyway. So
Right.
let's start.
So why are we trying to hammer it out when we have people missing? We have 5 people missing.
I know, but we're going to find out what this
Yeah,
majority,
well,
what this group says. So Larry, look back, yes or no?
We already did this, Brian, and then when we presented. That was our straw vote, if you will.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't see that we have any choice, as I
Look
said
back.
before.
Yes, Larry, thank you. Carolyn?
I think that things get said and I hear comments, and I think that if something shifts this way, somebody's gonna change a vote this way. I feel like we have 4 people who are not in this room. I think that staff has made a compelling argument about the total impact to taxpayers with the look back and the necessity to do it. Donna has come in and given her views on this as well, so I think it's a very compelling argument. But I know that we're gonna have this conversation at the COP. So I think we're moving forward with the presentation that they've given, but I don't see how you take off the separate conversation entirely. So I think we're moving forward with staff has presented, right? And I think that's what we've shown, that this is, if we're going to be able to solve the fiscal shortfall that we have, then I think we need to consider the look back. Do I think that that's gonna be the only thing that we talk about at the COW? No, I don't. And I would also say that we have to stop, one of the things we have to kind of think about when we're talking about this is we keep talking about it as an expenditure problem. It really has been a revenue problem that we've created over time. We talk about there's still the conversation that we have every year that we can't raise taxes, we have to cut. So there is a point at which that's not sustainable. So everybody has to kind of also weigh in about what are those programs and essential services that in the back of their mind, they're willing to give up, because that's what we're talking about. Because we're gonna be in this situation because costs go up every year. This is an ongoing conversation for foreseeable future. Okay? So I agree we should move forward what's being recommended at this point, but I also would with the understanding that there's gonna be more conversation, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
I'm a yes on the look back.
Okay, Pam?
I'm at this point, I'm still uncomfortable. I think there's a lot more conversation. I think it's difficult for people to understand what it is when we talk about raising and look back and conveying that to constituents. So I'm being very honest, I'm relatively uncomfortable right now talking about that. But I will consider it. I will always consider it. But right now I cannot give you a firm yes.
Okay, Gloria?
Yes, I don't think we really have a choice. And when we discussed this at, I think it was the COW, whatever meeting that was, someone said, I would not be comfortable with the look back unless we had at least $3 million abated. And that was member Gadamoller. And so now we have 3.2. And when he said that, I thought, yeah, that would be great if we could get 3 million. So I'm a yes. I think if we don't do that, we're creating problems for future boards that come down. It's not sustainable to just think that we can cut our way out of this.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
I'm kind of sitting in the same place as Pam. I just, we're talking potentially about another $1 million that could come on, correct?
Well, no, it'd be more if it's a unilateral hiring freeze for every position.
Well, but
It'd be more.
If we quantify dollars for that, I'm just talking about the things that we have dollars on that we've talked about. So I think there's still conversations needing to be had.
Okay, so if you're...
I'll go ahead and...
If everybody is saying...
May I?
Go ahead.
May I
Please. Yes.
I'm trying to go between 2 meetings and it's getting increasingly difficult. What is, of course, our government spending is unsustainable and it needs to be cut. What we're doing with this look back, it was clearly the intention at the time of the Mental Health Board moving that to the sales tax, that we were going to do this look back and get back the money. And so this is just even an abatement. I am on the board and would have zero confidence that there would be an abatement because we've lost trust. But so I would definitely be a no on the look back.
Thank you. Pam?
Yes, you know what, Terry and Eric, I absolutely understand your interpretation of that whole mental health issue. I would just truly appreciate it moving forward if you guys said that that was your understanding of what the board did, because that is not my understanding. And so I really have a problem. I know you do that, but I certainly explain your position that that is really what you believe, right? I would just ask for the courtesy that you don't speak for everybody, but that was what you took away from the meeting. Because that's not what I took away.
That's not what I took away either.
So why did, I would
I
just
wasn't part
question
of
why.
writing that referendum. And
Let's
that was
finish going around this.
Can we just finish?
I wanna,
Days whining
let's not
here.
get into a big discussion about this. Let's go to the question on the table.
We're up to
So
Tracy.
as of right now, in favor of the look back, right now, I have Larry and Jim, and in opposition,
Gloria too.
I recorded
Carolyn and Gloria.
Carolyn, Pam, Mike, Terry. So let's keep going here.
Gloria said,
I said yes.
Gloria said yes.
Carolyn, what you said?
I said, I'm more in Pam's position. I think what I said was staff brought forward a compelling message. I think it's important to bring that forward. I do think it's a revenue issue, not an expenditure one, because we do continue to cut. But I think it's going to be a broader conversation.
Is it fair to say that everyone who's saying that, you know, they're not comfortable talking about it, you know, at this moment, or they want to keep considering it, that your choices are between the look back and some level of abatement, or the new growth plus 2.9% CPI, that you're open to both scenarios?
that you can say that for me. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, everyone
Tracy.
else.
I was previously on the fence, on the look back with a larger abatement than was previously presented. But with that being said, and all the discussions, you know, $39 doesn't seem like a lot to some people. To some people, it is. But what worries me is going forward and the talk of maybe what's the impact in future years to the taxpayer with no abatement? Because
What do you mean?
I think
You'd still be
With
limited.
no look back.
Is it still, are you saying like what would the future increases based on that
Yeah.
higher amount be?
Yes.
I think
Right.
that would be something that would have to be considered every single year.
But it would build a higher base, so the increase would be.
Supports a
Right.
higher base.
Right.
And there's no guarantee for an abatement,
Correct.
I guess is where I'm coming from. So yes, this year or next year it's gonna be $39, but the following year, and there's no abatement, what's the
But
increase
the challenge is,
then?
regardless of revenue, that next year we will have at least an additional $3 million for ARPA.
Which is why we should cut.
Cut what?
That we
Like the
have to
vacant
go.
positions.
There's only one right now.
There's only one.
Yes.
Okay,
So with
Tracy?
that being said, and normally I was a no vote on CPI and new growth. I would consider that this time around, but I'm now kind of leaning no on the look back.
no on the look back.
Yes, no.
Okay.
So no on the look back.
John?
I'm undecided at this point.
Eric?
I'm strongly against the look back. So no.
Pat?
am as well. So are you had asked a question about 2% and growth. Is that off the table as well? Without the
Honestly,
look back?
probably, since I said that's what I would need to do when I ran, but, you know, that's certainly a more defensible position. I wouldn't be so up in arms at that than I would everything else. I can respect, you know, someone taking that. I respect that view. I might disagree with it, but I vehemently disagree with the look back. Like I said, it's the opposite of what we said, or my interpretation of what we said.
So you got Paul? Paul?
Yep, I'm here.
Yes or no?
So, I think I'm in Pam's court as well. You know, I'm willing to listen. Today's presentations were great. Actually, for me being new, it helped me a lot to understand a little bit better. But I'm still on the fence. Originally, I was a hard no. But going back to what Jim Kern says, sustainability, not coming back every year fighting and amongst each other, but just trying to fight to get to a balanced budget. Maybe they'll look back to the abate, maybe this 1.4 will add to that, and maybe we can get to something where we're, you know, sustainable for 3 to 4 years. And I think that's what just being balanced and comfortable is something I would want. So for right now, I think, like I said, I'm in Pam's court. I just want to get more information so I know I'm making the right choice.
Okay. I will say that I've been a hard no. I am much more on the fence right now.
Hard no on the look back.
On the look back, I'm saying. Hard no on the look back. I'm much more on the fence. I think the treasurer, with respect, has done a remarkable job here, as well as Carrie, to kind of tell us what the future is going to be. As I said before, the hardest thing for people to do is to vote for what is right today, but what is right for the future as well. So I'm very much on the fence right now about that. So that's kind of where I am. So that's, I guess, our straw poll of this body at the moment. Any questions about that? I think we can kind of push that forward. That right now we have several of us on the fence with regards to that. I'm not sure that we'll come to the 10 majority that we would need at the committee of the whole.
So going back to your original point of doing the straw poll was to provide clarity. So is it fair to say that the staff should be presenting both the 2.9% and the look back?
At this point, I think that's correct. So then we come to what we talked about before, and again, it looks like we need to have it built in so that there is some degree of recognition of the fact that hiring freeze merits. And although I agree wholeheartedly with Jim, I can't imagine reducing the transportation for RTE bridges at all. So I'm strongly opposed to that, but it looks like those two things are still on the table in terms of additional reductions. Should we go to the majority? Right. So that's kind of where we are right now. I'm going to ask staff if they believe that this gives them some idea of what they need to be presenting at the committee of the whole now in terms of the two options, including these additional cuts.
And Carrie, when you say there's only one open position, does that mean they've all been eliminated or they've all been filled or both?
Combination.
Combination. And was it there's 3 nursing positions, I believe. They eliminated and then converted 1 to full-time. Is that right? So 2 are
to full-time.
how many?
2 to full-time, but one is being filled. I wrote it down because I was having trouble.
Could you, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Can you just email me
Yeah.
that list? Okay.
Yes. I will get an updated list from HR as well.
Thank you.
Okay, let's bring this kind of back because we're losing people now and it is noon and I think everybody's probably had their fill of this morning, but I think it's been a healthy conversation across the board. We know that we're going to have to continue the conversation at the committee of the whole based upon what we have said. There is a majority of individuals that are at least no or undecided with regards to the look back. There are, let's see, of this particular body, there's 3 that are willing to go forward with the look back as is. So we're going to ask the staff then now to come back to us, committee of the whole, with these 2 options, right? Not 3 options, 2 options, new growth and CPI. Right? That's one option. And in that instance, then, these additional reductions that might be realized, what happens if we can add these reductions, what's that gonna do to that gap that we're gonna have, right? That's one. And then the second opportunity is with the look back, what's that going to be?
Yeah, because that increased the abatement.
Yeah, and with the abatement, of course. Do you have any questions about that, Carrie, from staff's perspective?
I don't think so. I mean, not right now.
Okay.
So
Right.
just to clarify, who are the three? Because I was still considering voting, so who are the three? It was,
That's what we're still looking at. is both of
I
them.
think you had put me down as a yes, and I'm on.
No, I checked who's done this on the text now.
Yeah, no.
All right,
Larry,
that's fine.
Jim Curran, Gloria.
Okay,
Right.
Yes.
thank you.
All right. Any other questions about that consensus we have? Any objections to that? Not?
You're saying the consensus for the evaluation by the staff?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Well, and presentation of those two budgets.
No
Opportunities.
consensus.
Okay, any questions about that? We're gonna move on here. I think that's kind of where we are. So now we have a discussion about the video gaming licenses. Okay,
I'm gonna be really quick, you know,
thank you.
with your time.
Let's give, please,
Guys.
let's give Kathy our attention, please. We need to move on.
So really quickly, you know, even with this county administration being a small department, we are also looking at ways to reduce costs and increase revenues where we can. For instance, we aren't replacing one of our FTEs this year, increasing efficiencies in our office. And one of the other things that we identified where we could make a modest but steady revenue source in addition for the general fund is implementing video gaming machines. So currently, the county does not charge for any video gaming licenses. Of all of our liquor licenses, we have 32 of them that have video gaming machines tied to them. Of those 32, 27 are maxing out at 6 games or 6 machines per establishment. As a non-home rule county, we can charge $250 per terminal. It's important to note that that fee would be split between the establishment owner and the terminal device distributor. So if we were to have charged that this year, we would have brought in roughly $46,000 this year alone. So I'm just here today to get permission from you guys to look more into this and consider it going forward for fiscal year 26 in county administration.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Any questions on that? Any questions? Pam?
No, I would just, as you look forward into it, I'd be very curious as to what other county, what they're charging, if they're doing the full 250, if there's anything
They are.
less than
So
that.
I did check, of
Thanks.
course, Cook County's higher because they're allowed to be.
Yeah, right.
But Lake, DuPage, and Will, they were all at the 250. I did have a meeting yesterday with one of my counterparts from Will County. They don't even have even close to the number we would be of games we have right now. Devices, we have much more than them at this point. They are all charging the 250. We're not allowed to charge any application fee or anything like that, like Wright County does. It's just a straight 250 across the board. I would have liked to incorporate it within the liquor license renewal. We can't do that after talking with the state's attorney's office. One cannot be contingent on the other, right? So I would do it within a different month. And that works out well too, because it gives us time to update our ordinance and implement everything and notify everybody.
I was just thinking that from the flip side of that, all of the game distributors are already used to paying the 125 anyway in the area, so it wouldn't be a new fee that they would have to get used to.
So on average with the establishments that are
Right.
maxing out at 6, it's $1,500, you know, and so only they would be paying the $750. So we would bill the establishment themselves, and it would be their responsibility to seek reimbursement from the distributors, which I have learned is the norm for the other counties as well.
Any other questions about this, Larry?
So just to clarify, it's per machine, not per establishment.
It is $250 per terminal,
Per
per
terminal,
establishment, and each establishment is allowed 6.
Okay.
Okay, John?
And this would include non-liquor establishments as well, too, right?
When you have a video gaming device, you're required to hold a Class A liquor license. So just for reference, a Class B liquor license in the county, that is like your liquor store. So you're just gonna go in, you're gonna buy a can of beer, you're gonna walk out, you cannot open it. Once that liquor store indicates that they wanna have video gaming machines, then they have to move to a Class A liquor license. They have to be able to open that beer and drink it at the terminal.
But if somebody wanted to just open a store, which is video games inside of it.
That is a Class A license, like a bar or restaurant. They have to be able to open that liquor and serve it.
No, they're not going to serve liquor.
But you have to have a
You
liquor.
have to have that
You
license.
have to get the license.
No, you have to have a liquor license
So-
before you can get a video.
So you're gonna, yeah.
Okay, didn't know that.
We gotta get out more.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, committee, please, let's focus. Do we have a consensus to ask Kathy to move forward with this? Larry?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Let's see, who's on?
Yes.
Derek? Terry? Terry?
Yes.
John? Myself, yes. So it looks like we have a majority vote on that to move forward with that recommendation. All right?
Thank you.
That takes care of 10.1. Now we move to reports. Any other outside reports that you have, Carrie? No? Thank you.
I'll save it for next month.
Thank you very much. Economic Development Corporation?
He's not here.
He's gone. Scott?
That's from McHenry County. There is a meeting for the executive board this afternoon. It's a remote meeting, so I'll be attending that. We skipped over contingency reports.
Right, you want to go with that?
Yeah. So we do have one item just to report. The item's gonna.
I have one thing to ask, I'm sorry. Carrie's been doing a lot of work. I was just gonna ask this committee, you control the non-departmental budget and postage is spiraling out of control. I'm just hoping you can give me consensus to access up to the remaining 50,000 that's in contingency right now for postage. I've got all the data, or if you have any questions, I can certainly answer that as to why it's spiraling out of control and what's been going on the last couple of years. I don't believe we'll need all of it, but I do have an invoice that needs to get paid for last month and some heavy mailings that went out. And if we don't, we'll incur some interest and some fees on that.
Yeah, I don't know if spiraling out of control is probably the right way to phrase it.
It feels that way to me.
There's mandated functions that we have to do, mandating mailings, whether it's through assessments, through the jury commission, through the tax sale, through elections as they come up. All that is borne by,
This is
and we can't
postage
control
makes
that.
up about 90% of my entire budget. It's more than anything I've got, so it can be difficult to control. I've already spoken with assessments and treasury and the county clerk and the circuit clerks in the courts. It's all been statutorily required mailings. So it's just the money, the postal services increased rates twice in 2023, 3 times in 2024, which we didn't really see until the beginning of 2025. What you hear about, we also experienced some increases that you don't hear about. For example, when they didn't do any postage increases in 2020, they did increase the cost per ounce. Over the last 3 years, they have also around October started increasing the cost of mailings for commercial licenses. We are considered a commercial license user at the post office. The post office is pretty much the sole monopoly that we really deal with in the county, so it's just kind of, we're really stuck. That's kind of where I'm at.
All right, so, Karen, do you have any comments about this?
I guess just that I asked Adam I know he has a lot of, this is outside of his control, he just gets to pay the bill. But it is about $100,000 increase from what we spent last year, so just looking and identifying those increases and making sure departments, they have, of course they have things they have to mail out per statute, but, really thinking about maybe if they don't see the bill, understanding how much it's costing us.
We do work with all the departments, I can say that. I specifically on this one, it was actually a mailing from the treasurer that pushed us over the latest increase we had, but and Donna's looking at ways that she might be able to recoup some of those costs to put back in postage for us. That's kind of what we're looking at. We're making sure everybody's doing only statutorily required mailings, that the type of mailing they choose fits within that statute, and if it doesn't, then they have a very strong business case on their own side as to why they use a more expensive type of postage.
Larry?
Obviously, it's statutorily, we need these mailings. I guess didn't catch, what are you looking from us? You said consensus,
I
or?
was just, because you control the non-departmental, there is a remaining $50,000 in contingency for postage in that non-departmental. I'm asking for consensus to use up to that. I don't believe I'll need all of it this year, but it is a substantial increase, and like I said, I feel I owe you an explanation as to what's been happening. But just, if I can access up to that, that should take care of 2020.
So this has already been approved in your budget?
Not in my budget, in the non-departmental.
Non-departmental budget, so it's there to be spent, you're just looking for permission to do it? We don't need a resolution for that of any type?
So it's in the budget policy that we have a few of these contingent line items that, remember, non-departmental is controlled by this committee. So if it doesn't get used, then it just stays put. And so per the budget policy, it can move from non-departmental into Adam's department for payment with no resolution. But we are letting you know that
So,
we're using all 100,000 this year.
so this committee can approve this as a finance committee, or does it have to go from here to the county board?
The committee can approve it.
Right, everybody understand?
Not approve, just shift it
I
from,
know.
yes.
Any questions about that?
We talked about it last month as well.
Right.
The first 50, and this is the second 50.
I guess, it's kind of disappointing that we have to go to contingency when, in fact, we knew that it's election year and every election year, but I do understand that things.
Well, last year was an election year, and this year is not, and so we're
That's
still
true.
seeing a $100,000 increase, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Larry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Yes.
Eric? John? Brian, yes. Terry's gone. Mike's gone. I guess the record should reflect, Kathy, that, Terry and Mike have left for the last two kind of agreements that we've had here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate that. I think that takes care of all the reports. Anything else, Scott?
We have nothing else.
Okay, any need for executive session? Okay, with that then, I would ask a motion to adjourn. John? Second, Eric. Any questions with the motion? Support is motion to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. One and all for your participation.